is Taliesin. Welcome to a WoW podcast. Obviously, I'm your host, Taliesin. I think I already said that.
You did. Hello, and I'm Evitel. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, Evitel. Welcome, everybody. I think that's fine. I think that's going to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. Yay! Oh, we are back from the Blizz. We're back from the Blizz.
Back from our sojourn to London.
We went to Londinium. We've been doing alpha stuff. We've seen the alpha. We've played the alpha. We're going to talk about the alpha. We're going to talk about War Within. And, you know, even though we've been hands-on with it and that we've been playing it and we've been talking about it, are we talking spoilers? Well, anything on the alpha is liable to be discussed.
It is a spoiler.
So that means armor sets, that means, you know, characters and things they say and things they see. So you are likely to be spoiled, I guess. However, one thing we don't really discuss without lots and lots of warning on this channel is kind of story elements that are data mined. Don't forget our spoiler bots system on this channel is we have our blue bot spoilers, which are for things which are just there, you know, stuff which is on, so if you log into the PTR and there's a quest that says, you know, like Anduin says, yo, I really love cake, you know, and we'd put that as a blue bot spoiler bot because, you know, some people might not want to know that Anduin really likes cake until they play the game themselves.
That might be something to know that.
Well, exactly, and I'm really sorry about that, but I did warn you. I did say blue bot spoiler bot, right? But you know, it's there. Blizz have made it public. They've put it out there to see. You know, that's like a blue bot, and then a red bot is obviously something that Wowhead or Mr. GM have data mined and found, and it wasn't like on the surface of the alpha for anyone to see. You had to go digging for it, sort of thing. So that's a red bot spoiler right there, and we're going to talk all of them. But we always discuss red bots before we get started. Evie, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm feeling really good. I don't know if you've noticed my swag. Can you see my swag, chat? Look at that. We received some swag when we went to London. This like fully embroidered like Xal'atath hoodie, which is probably like the finest piece of hoodie gear I've ever had. It's like quality.
I mean, it's okay. Like the fabric is all right, but the actual art. Do you want to stand up and show everyone who's watching this on the recording
I
properly?
did.
Yeah, but I didn't have you full screen, so now I'm gonna.
There we go. Have a look.
This is embroidered. This is in purple and Siren. What color is that? Like the light blue.
I would call it blue.
Okay, and it's obviously Void Mummy. She's obviously looking amazing. I'm assuming these are going to go onto the gear store at some point.
Presumably.
I don't think these have just been made just for us.
No,
but I mean,
we're not that special.
I've got a reveal for you, Evitel.
Oh, do you now?
Yeah, look.
What's that? What?
No, I just want to make it look like I take it off my trousers off camera or something like that. But no, I've got an even. No, I do have a genuine reveal. You think this sweater is good?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen the writing on the inside front of it?
Excuse me?
Well, the front of it is right there. You can have a look.
On the inside?
Inside front. So the inside and the front.
Do I have to look in it here?
Oh, no, it's
where?
There. It's there. It's there. Inside front.
Oh. Whoa.
Well, this is a podcast. You can't just look into the camera and make a face. You've got to say something.
I know. I'm leaving a little bit of suspense.
Okay, right. See, you say suspense. I say dead air.
Oh, okay.
That's the kind of thing that makes people stop listening. People want to know. The chat is going crazy. What does it say?
It says, "Every little death helps." I did not clock that the first time.
A
Thanks,
classic
Sally.
Xal'atath line. Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it does not say union made.
Yeah.
I think that that would definitely be a trade's descriptions there. So yeah, see, the camera's even better than you thought.
Wow.
The camera, sorry, the sweater is even better.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Yeah, so I'm good. I'm really excited. Alpha is here. We actually don't have the alpha.
Oh, I was going to reveal that as a little secret.
Oh, too bad.
Yeah,
that would have been dead air.
That is the thing. Well, it wouldn't have been dead air. It would be me It'd been the opposite of dead air. It'd been me talking.
Well, okay, so we have, we don't actually have the alpha at the minute, which is quite funny. But apparently we are flagged to get it at some point.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? We got invited to this big thing in London. If you don't know, there's been a huge press and creator kind of summit, sort of press junket sort of thing for the launch of Alpha. And I mean, it was in the Horticultural Society in Victoria in London. Which is it might sound nice and prim and proper, that, and you know, flowers and stuff everywhere and what have you, but it's one of those incredibly impressive like London buildings, right?
Yeah, it was really beautiful, and it was completely decked out. There were like no, I mean, it's Blizz, so you know, you had no expenses spared. It was done up like, you know, the doors were wrapped in like beautiful designs. We've got more pictures that we'll share with you from the event because it was super fun. It was great. And we were really lucky. We had the opportunity to catch up with some creator friends, enemies, frenemies, and lots of people from across the board. And of course, sit down and play the alpha. Although, to be fair, we only played the alpha for about 10 minutes because we were then dragged away kicking and screaming with excitement to do some interviews. So we had a lovely chat with Maria Hamilton, which we've kind of included in our most recent video, and which we will share more of course. We got to just sit down for a minute with Holly, which was a pleasure, like not really formally, but just kind of sit down and chat. And then we had a nice big group interview with Ian as well, for which Mr. GM just released, I think, the longest blue tick tweet possible. I think it was about 20,000 words.
I think Mr. GM's got like 5 blue ticks to allow something as long as that,
it was
right?
like it was the biggest single tweet I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, you can get all the details there. But it was great. It was a really lovely chance to just catch up with people, with the devs, you know, going along with this whole line of communication that they've been talking about having with the community. It was really good. It was a pleasure. And of course, you know, we got to watch that the WoWcast a bit early, catch up on that, see what was happening there. And we have come away from it pretty excited, I would say. At least I am. Hooray.
Yeah, it's kind of impossible not to get caught up in all that hype, right? And when Evie says the place was decked out, I'm going to have to talk about it all a little bit more, Evie. I hope you don't mind, because I was hoping to string this out for the entire show. But when she says it was decked out, I mean, like, it was like a kind of a mini BlizzCon, really. I don't know if you've seen the photos on our Twitter and stuff like that.
And Instagram.
And Instagram, of course. But there were, like, you know, huge columns everywhere, kind of all kind of made to look like the new city, the kind of the Earthen city. There were huge banners of key art everywhere. There was one of Anduin looking very moody with a half, you know, face half in darkness, doubtless battling hard against the war within himself, right? And there was new key art of Xal'atath that we hadn't seen before as well, looking stunning, looking beautiful. I would actually say that was one of the takeaways from the entire event, honestly, was I think up until this point, they haven't been pushing the Xal'atath thing overly hard. Like, she's there, and you know, she's clearly a featured character, and you know, she's clearly a featured antagonist and things like that, but I feel like this event really cemented her as like kind of the main focus marketing wise for War Within.
Yes, yes. I would agree, although we didn't really get to learn any more about her.
No, but she was just everywhere. She was on everything.
Of course,
that's the thing.
yeah,
Like, she's on these sweaters. There was this key art everywhere. There was a cosplayer going around dressed as her. And there was like loads of cool like Void Nerubian stuff and things everywhere. And there was just like a real focus on that. And Maria Hamilton was very keen to talk about Xal'atath as well. Talked about her a lot. So I feel like this was the kind of event where they really sort of like woke up to Xal'atath and were like, oh, we're actually onto a really, really good thing here, and we need to just like really position her in the center. And it's almost enough to make me hope that she'll survive the War Within.
I don't know. I feel like she's actually been I felt like she's had presence all along, really. I think they've planned this. And if anything, we know that she sets things in motion, right? And we know that she is up to something. We don't know who she serves, although we know she does serve. But yeah, so it was cool. It was really cool. She was plastered all over the place, obviously all over my hoodie as well. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to see how they're kind of like positioning stuff and getting stuff ready and getting us excited. We got a little peek at the collector's edition that's coming out. We saw the little statue there as well, which is cool. Got to haul some big swords and props around for a minute, and we did a little interview with like the social media team as well, and we'll see how that goes, because they talked to us before the presentation. And so one of the questions was like, so off the top of your head, spiders or crabs? And we were like,
yeah, they took us to one side and they were like, "Yo, we're going to be interviewing like the guests here and the creators and stuff, and getting your views on the alpha. So with that in mind, you're the first people we're doing, and we're quite aware that A, you haven't played the alpha, B, you haven't seen the presentation, and C, you're not going to understand any of these questions. But, you know, just try and answer them as best you can."
Yeah.
And yeah, when one of the questions was like, spiders or crabs, we were like, burn them both, obviously. How else are you gonna answer that question? Yeah. Obviously crabs all the time. It's how we met.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, I'm a big fan of the Arachnophobia filter that they're implementing. For those of you who have not heard about it yet, which would be incredible, but
yeah,
I do accept that some people do not live on the internet.
Right?
Yeah. For some people who do not exist purely on the internet, you might not know what it is, but the Arachnophobia filter is a new feature coming in the War Within, where you toggle it on, and any 8-legged spider-like creature will be turned into a crab. This is for people who have
on your screen.
Exactly.
They will be the same creature, but they will appear as a crab.
Yeah,
on
mechanically,
your screen.
no difference, no change. But they just look like crabs.
I'm not a sufferer of arachnophobia, right? And obviously, like, you know, this is an expansion which a whole zone of it is set in the Nerubian Empire, right? The Nerubian capital of like their entire civilization. I thought there was loads of really good stuff about that. The way they're describing the Nerubian civilization as being on a par with kind of like Suramar and you know, elven civilizations.
Yes.
They're not just bugs skittering around. They're like, you know, they are one of the most ancient and advanced civilizations on Azeroth, except they're just kind of, you know, under Azeroth sort of thing. And obviously they're very kind of spider-like, and I love how they were talking about how that filter was kind of developed initially because there were team members who didn't like working on it because of arachnophobia or just general ickiness, and so the tool was originally developed for them just so they could like continue their work. And you know, they got experts in and did focus groups on the things that they could change it to, and they were saying they had experiments of just having floating spiders where the legs weren't moving and moving them along the floor or whatever.
Yeah, or like, you know, trying to figure out, working together with experts on arachnophobia, being like, what is it that really sets people off? Like, what actually, you know, triggers them? So they're like, okay, they took away the legs, fewer eyes. They gave, you know, they like played around with eyeballs to see if that made a difference. And they found that the most successophic swap was just 2 crabs.
Yeah. I mean, presumably a kitten would have probably helped more, because I'm not arachnophobic, right? But when I look at a crab, I don't think, wow, that's the most opposite thing from a spider I could possibly imagine. Yo, if I've got a fear of spiders, I tell you the one thing that definitely doesn't remind me of spiders, not even slightly, crabs. You know, I literally can't think of an animal less like a spider than a crab. And when I'm looking at this crab right now, spider is the last thing I'm possibly thinking of. No way. Not thinking of that. No. But apparently it works.
Yeah, according to the work that they've done. And I saw one of the devs who worked on this feature tweeting about it. I'll have to kind of find that thread, but they were like, yo, DM me, ask me anything if you want to know how this works. And I'm super curious.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, it's that is one of the things that we came away knowing. Yeah, like you said, I got really hyped when they were talking about the Nerubians, who are one of the big civilizations. They're basically, literally referring not just the Nightborn but Suramar, got me extremely hyped. Because maybe this is a hint not only at the way we're meant to think about them and approach them in the game, think about they're like culturally and what they're like visually, how we should think of them, but also like maybe we get like a spidery Suramar. I would love that.
I don't really see how that's going to work, to be honest.
I mean, it's in a cave.
I mean, no, I know, but like it's a huge city under the ground. It's basically the whole of the final zone of the leveling campaign. And it's like underneath, because unlike other kind of continents in World of Warcraft expansions where, it's a continent and you go from one zone to the next, this continent is basically vertical. You're not going across into another zone when you go into another zone in the War Within. You're going down into another zone. So it's like the continent is more of like a tube straight down sort of thing. Yeah. And you're going down, down, down. And the Nerubian city is, which they said many times, but every time a different dev said it, it sounded different. And at no point did I ever work out what it was actually called, the way they were pronouncing it. It's got a cool Nerubian name. No, the name of the city.
Oh, the name. Yeah.
Yeah. But so you go down and down and down. Oh, yeah. And obviously, like they're using that airlock tech that they developed in 10.1.
Yeah.
And the Xal'atath caverns to kind of, mean there's no kind of loading or anything in between, which is good because, we're not used to loading screens in between zones. So that would be bad. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really cool. And very wisely, at least two of the zones either are outside or just look like they're outside. So Xal'atath caverns kind of, with the best will in the world, I think they did a great job in Xal'atath caverns, making it varied and interesting. But when I look at it and when I play in it, at the end of the day, you're just in a big cave, and I found it a little bit oppressive, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't enjoy going down there.
Barely spent any time in there.
Yeah, and I think that's probably and there was a definite on message thing that a lot of people were saying of, barely even feels like you're underground. Honestly, you wouldn't even know that it is underground, but you wouldn't even think it was. I promise you. God, it's like, look at the Hallowfall. Look at the big crystal. Look at how it's like a sun. It's like being outside here. So I feel like they're kind of, they recognize the kind of general feel for Xal'atath, and they're kind of trying to convince everyone that that's not going to be the case. Don't know if that's true yet, because on the alpha at the moment, the zone that is being tested is the outdoor zone, right? Yeah. The Isle of Dawn, the surface, the beautiful outdoor zone with its massive city that looks to be one of the biggest cities kind of ever put in the game.
Dornigal.
Dornigal, which is a bit weird because that's like the name of a real life place, an island, and if they're not
Donegal.
I know, yeah, that's right.
But WoW does that all the time. WoW just borrows, right, constantly.
Well, yeah, but that's just like literally the name of a place. It's like if they called a place Laundon, right? You'd be like, that sounds familiar. And if everyone was kind of going around there, and in the fog and top hats and stuff, you'd be like, yeah, I see what they've done here. Sure. Deep Home, but with trees. Possibly. Yeah. It's it looks beautiful, and actually that main kind of outside area, which is the hub city as well, I believe. Is it's quite Dragonflighty in many ways. It's sort of, it does. So my thing is, right, I kind of think that for outside zones and for like green grassy zones and stuff, every expansion since WoD has kind of just looked like WoD. That's where they developed that kind of, do you know what I mean? Like all outside
really play through WoD.
Graphics, like they all look a bit like WoD. They've all got that kind of painted rock feel, no matter what the actual, whatever the actual kind of fauna or topography or items in there. It kind of looks kind of like painted rock. You know,
Okay.
it's cool. It's the art style. It's
Get what you mean.
cartoony, and
That makes me think of
lush and it's-
BFA, like
Oh yeah,
Swan
sure,
Song
but that's because
Valley.
you didn't play WoD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
And that's what they've kind of been doing since WoD, and you know, it's like that in Dragonflight, and it's certainly like that in the Outside Zone in the War Within. Yeah, but in a good way. It feels really nice and beautiful, and I think it's a great way of doing landscapes. And you know, they've got awesome sunsets and stuff there, and it's just a glorious kind of a Naran Plainsy, but with lots of dwarf architecture and stuff, which is really cool. No, I love it, and I love it. What I don't like about that WoD art style is when they do the whole painted rock thing with weapons so much. I don't like. They started doing swords like that in WoD as well, didn't they? Where WoD just the swords in WoD, they're cool, they're chunky, but they do look like painted rock, and they've kind of toned that down.
Rock, I'm gonna need a little more description. What do you mean by painted rock?
In that, you know, like everything kind of looks like it's made out of the same texture, but with then different textures painted on.
Okay.
So like it's they I think people in the chat will know what I'm talking about. Like the weapons in WoD, whether they're supposed to be sharp iron swords or, you know, like they all look chunky in a way that looks like rock.
Okay.
And yeah, the kind of people lamenting the rock swords of WoD is quite a common thing for people that were there. And
kind of blunt.
Say again?
Like a bit blunt, maybe.
A bit chunky.
Like not slick. A bit chunky.
Okay. I can't really eloquate it any better way than that because I don't know what the kind of design thinking is behind it.
Yeah.
But that's definitely how I feel.
Well, good news for you. Have you seen any of the outdoor armor sets and weapons coming up?
Well, I have, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't really kind of get very far in the alpha, was because I was also quite aware that my account had not been flagged for alpha at that point, which it has not either. So before we get started on all of the alpha stuff, can I just say, right, you know, lovely to be invited to this event. It was really, really good to hang out with some amazing creators as well. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And we went out for dinner the night before because sort of community outreach had organized it and everything. We went out for this lovely little we got into London, got into our hotel, and, you know, missing the kids already, but we were fine with that. We'll live with that. It's fine. And got into our glad rags, went out to the restaurant where everyone was down in Victoria. And when we got there, we were some of the last people there. And like basically the gang was already there, and they'd taken up over this whole kind of upstairs of a restaurant. And I mean, it was like a who's who of WoW create. It was like BlizzCon, but better because there weren't any NA people there. It was just like, it's like what you always wanted BlizzCon to be. No NA people, no Preach. It was like, yeah, awesome. Right. And Preach was too busy like swimming in the rain on his sun holiday.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, I mean, he has far more important things to be doing.
But it was amazing. We went up there, and literally the first person I clapped eyes on sitting at a table was Nagura. Nagura was just sitting there like a queen, just, you know, like her stock's never been higher. She's just, and oh my God, so beautiful and lovely in real life. What an amazing person. And just smiley and kind and approachable. And literally kind of sitting by her was Annie Fuchsia. And Gingy was there, Sko was there, and then you had like a French contingent which included Cruella and people like that. We had cool German creators. Marcellian was there.
Chromie,
Chromie was there. Yeah. It was really, really cool. Really nice. And of course Belilar as well, who we knew was going to be there. Mr. GM was at the event, but he couldn't make the dinner the night before.
Yeah.
So we were sat next to Belle having a lovely time. We went out drinking that night just because the EU people, they were so good. They were so professional.
They were such professionals. Yeah, and they, you know, we had the next day, we had our session, and it was split up into two groups. So the afternoon session and the morning session. And most of the people, like the EU creators, basically had the morning session which I think started at 9. And bless them, like we finished dinner and we were like, "You guys ready to go out?" And they're like, no,
No, no.
going to bed.
No,
because
we have to get ready for our session. This is what all of them combined sound like. This is not any one creator. I
Right,
think if you
okay.
combine the voices of all the different EU creators that were there, this is what
Okay.
they would sound like. They were
Okay.
like, no, we can't because we have to work on the session in the morning for tomorrow.
that's great accent. So
That's every EU accent combined.
it ended up just being us
It's
and
the
Belle going out
multi-accents.
for a minute, which was quite fun.
Oh yeah, because when they were all saying no, and they were like, "We might go out tomorrow after we're
Maybe.
done with the session," and I was like, "Yeah, boom." But I knew one man who would not let us down because he
No.
never lets us down, and I was like, "Belle, you're coming." He was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hell yeah!" And we got a little taxi into town, went to a gaming bar.
Yes, we ended up playing no games. We just had drinks.
Well,
which
what was
in
the
a
gaming
game in
bar?
its own. It was called NQ64. It's in Soho. It's quite fun, quite like vibey.
You had like a gaming cocktail.
Oh, I did. It was like a Mario themed. Saying it out loud sounds weird. It was a Mario themed porn star martini. Which were
When I think of what I
words
want, like
coming out of my mouth.
Mario and porn stars is
just-
I don't know why it's never been done before. I don't know why
Yeah.
that isn't a natural combo everywhere you go, right?
yeah.
What is a porn star martini for those who are confused in the chat?
It's like a passion fruit martini with a shot of like fizzy bubbles that you drop into it, and right, it's a common cocktail, but there's a kind of Mario version of it which was called something like a power up or whatever, something. I'm sorry to relay this information to you, but it was ghastly. It was I just chose the worst one out of the list. It just tasted like cough syrup, although the bubbles did taste good, but they were also flavored.
Now I can't.
And
I mean,
it had a
this
little
is
star on it too, and I was
a
like,
Mario star, right? What, in like rice paper, right, or something like that, or was it? It was edible.
yeah, it was edible.
Yeah.
I ate it. I don't know if it was edible, but I ate it. It was fine. I should have just stuck with the beers like you did. But hey, we had a really fun time. We were out for a bit, but relatively responsible. Who's that?
Hello, it's me. I'm here to fix your boiler.
Oh my god. I don't even know what you're referencing, but I will just let that play out. Very exciting. Yeah.
What do you mean you cannot pay? We'll have to find some other way.
Oh my god. Right. So yeah. So we the next morning
Anyway, Belle had a lovely time.
Yeah, he had a great time.
Belle, now look, Belle told me that he had the best night of his entire life. I don't know if that's true. He said he never wanted to go home and he only wanted to hang out with us forever because we're the best people he knows. And I don't know if that's true, but we had to get him home at some point. And the thing about Belle is I know that, I know that
What
he
do you
could
know?
go all night long. I know that he could stay out
Wow, okay.
drinking and partying all night long. Because basically every time I've ever met him, that's exactly what he does. When I get a preach con, we're hanging out in the bar of the hotel and I go to bed at a very respectable time. And that mofo is out there schmoozing, talking, pressing the flesh until the next day. That guy doesn't sleep. He's a machine. How do you think he makes so many videos?
Yeah,
and when he's got no
exactly.
videos to make, what else is there to do but just, paint the town?
Yeah, so we got a little bit of that, which was great. Yeah, and then next day we had the morning to ourselves, which was really nice because we got to sleep, which was
Oh yeah, so there was like a morning session and an afternoon session. We knew
Yeah.
we didn't have to be until 2, so we got to kind of like just go out and chill and take our own time in the morning and what have you.
pick
and
up
stuff.
an extra hard
Yeah,
drive.
and it was clearly they'd organised it so all the creators who had a flight to get home, who lived abroad or whatever, who weren't British, basically, they were the ones who were in the morning, and there's a much smaller group of more kind of British-based people, of which
Yeah.
Belle was one, in the evening, in the afternoon, which was great. And so we didn't finish until about 7 in the end, and it was fantastic. We had a really, really good time.
We had a really good time. I do have to interrupt this broadcast to share that Ibrahim has just shared that the place where we get our shepherd's pies has closed down.
No, what? When Ibrahim is in town, one of our favorite stream people, we always go to a certain place, a certain hotel, and get the best shepherd's pie I've ever had in my entire life, and hang out with Ibrahim. It's kind of what we do. Oh, that's terrible. We'll just have to find a new shepherd's place.
We'll have to just find another one.
Pie place. Yeah, Ibrahim.
Yeah,
like
we'll just
easy.
have to find another one.
Easy, absolutely.
I'm sure we will surpass the shepherd's
It's
pie
pretty good.
with another one.
Pretty good. Anyway, and so it was great. And you know, for YouTubers like us who by far the worst thing about being a YouTuber obviously is the loneliness, right? Is the fact that is the best thing and the worst thing. Ibrahim, you're an absolute legend. Thank you. Can't wait to see you soon. By far the worst thing about it is the best thing as well, is that you get to work yourself, get to work at home, get to work all your own hours and stuff. But that does mean like you get quite lonely. You don't have colleagues, you don't have an office. We're lucky we got this place and we got each other and what have you. When I bother coming to work, and it's that thing of I come in the morning and Evie's here at the desk like, look who finally decided to come to Wake. Maybe you'd like to make some YouTube videos today. And I'm like, sorry, boss, there was terrible traffic. Terrible traffic, he says. Got stuck in the traffic on the stairs, he says. It's constant. My boss is tyrannical. But, that's about it. So when we go to events like this that Blizz are putting on, that we know loads and loads of people are going to be at, and other creators going to be at, it's kind of cool because it's the closest we ever get to like an office Christmas party, isn't it?
Yeah, and it genuinely just feels like that. I don't know if other creators have kind of similar feeling, if they get up to more stuff. Maybe this is why people go to conferences, because everyone's like, are you going to go to
guaranteed?
Are you going to go to this one? And like we never do kind of like whatever game or game dev conferences, or like TwitchCon. We've never done TwitchCon. I don't know if we will. Maybe. But suddenly I'm like, yes, I will go to this convention, because this is going to a meeting with like my office crew,
it's brilliant.
which we never get to do. So it was really nice to
it's
see
the closest I come to feeling like I've got colleagues,
exactly
and kind of like peers, right? And it's great, and it's lovely talking to them about the boring work stuff that you wouldn't want to talk to people about in public and stuff, and just have it as a kind of a works thing is lovely. And seeing how they approached their work as well was really interesting, and how they all approached kind of the presentation and what have you, because then we got to the place and it was like being in a theme park. It was absolutely incredible. There's a whole like kind of secluded like merch area where we want to get our sweaters and stuff, and that's where they had the collector's edition. So we've seen the box of the collector's edition, and they did have the art book there as well. And I said to one of the outreach people who we know quite well, I was like, because it was just upright on the table, and I was like,
standing there,
can I look at this art book? And she was like, there's nothing in it, it's just empty pages, it's just the cover of the art book which has been bound over blank pages. And I was like,
oops.
And then I thought, I don't believe her. This is a double bluff. She's just saying, she was like, I can't stop Tally looking at it unless I tell him there's nothing in it. And I was like, okay. There was me, almost looked at blank pages. And then when she wasn't looking, I ran over and I looked at it. And she was right. It was just blank pages.
Empty.
Damn it. But the statue was there for the 20th anniversary edition thing as well.
It was?
Which is all part of the same thing. I bought it last night as soon as it went live.
Very nice.
I actually delayed pressing go on your amazing tweet thread that you made of all the information that we gathered, because I was busy buying the collector's edition, because I can't miss out on that stuff, man, especially not with it. And it's the Griffin Rider statue. It's a dwarf on a griffin, which is very fitting for the 20th anniversary and for War Within as well, of course.
Yeah, of course. It looks really good. Okay, phew, I'm glad you managed to secure one.
Yeah, absolutely. And
worth it.
Well, the thing is, right, I always say that I always buy one anyway, because I want to have one. I don't want to miss it. Right? But then usually Blizzard send us one these days anyway, but I'm not so sure if they will anymore. I'm not so sure, right? We were invited to this and it was really lovely to be invited to this, and we got some banging interviews as well. Oh my goodness, can't wait to get we had like a round table with Ian Hazakostas over Zoom. which I always love watching Ian Hatzcostas on his webcam because I don't know why. I think he literally records in a broom cupboard. I think he records about like this close to his screen, like incredibly close, because whenever I see him on his camera, his face just takes up the whole bottom 2/3 of the picture, but nothing in the top third.
It's because he's on a laptop.
Yeah, well, exactly. But the man runs World of Warcraft. Yeah. The man, and you know, obviously we're streamers, and all our friends are kind of YouTubers and streamers as well. So everyone has like these amazing camera setups and stuff. And then the guy running the game comes on, Ian Hatzcostas, and it's like
he doesn't have to be showy. He knows he doesn't have to.
Do you know what? Because exactly, the quality is in the words he's saying. He gives no Fs, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely not.
He gives lots of Fs when he's answering questions, though. He's always, and I've always said this, and in the community, Ian goes in and out of fashion, you know? Like, sometimes people like him, sometimes people don't. When people are frustrated with the game, they're like, oh, he's such a lawyer, he avoids the questions, blah, blah, blah. I have never found that at all. Like, I always think that people say that he sounds like a lawyer when he talks, quite simply because he talks very eloquently.
Yeah, he's just an intelligent guy.
He's never trying to avoid anything, as far as I can tell. He's always thinking carefully about questions that he's asked. He's always giving every question he's asked. And Mr. GM in that roundtable asked some terrible questions, like the worst. People were there like, oh God, why did he ask that? Everyone was so embarrassed. And you know, even Mr. GM's terrible questions that he was asking. I know Mr. GM's in the chat, that's why it's just a little joke.
Exactly.
I wouldn't say that if Mr. GM wasn't in the chat.
Exactly.
It's like when Bell came to the Weekly Reset live recording. I was like, yes, Bell's here. He took up his invitation. That means I can do all my Belialar jokes.
Yeah.
Because you can only do them if they're there, because otherwise it does look a little bit horrible. Exactly. If they're there, they know you're just joking. So, like, obviously, people listening to this later wouldn't know that Mr. GM's in the chat, so I had to clarify that. And as you know, jokes are always much, much funnier when you explain them. That's always been my philosophy. Always. So anyway, Mr. GM was asking some absolute dog shit questions, some proper turds, and Ian Hatzcostas, even those, he gave respect and time and answered them a bit slower, like he was talking to a child with those ones, but answered them with care and diligence, and I respect that a lot, and it's always nice to talk to him. But we had to leave that interview a little bit early because we had to set up for our in-person interview with Maria Hamilton.
We did. But one thing that I loved about like that group interview and just the whole atmosphere of the day was just you get such a... It reminds you of like the diversity of WoW players, of the specific many different ways in which we all think about and approach WoW. So like there's a room and like we were there with our particular angle, whatever that is. You know, you had Sko looking after like serious, you know, raiding. You had Nate also from Method, like asking like the tank questions, right? And Rage was there, being very much like, I'm a super casual, but here are my really insightful questions.
Yeah, seriously. And every question she asked, she prefaced with, well, I don't know what I'm talking about,
I don't know a thing,
but here's a really good question.
Here we go. Let me tell you like an extremely on-point question, you know, and we've got like a Cruella as well. So it's just really cool. And of course, Mr. GM. And so it's great to see we're all there for different styles of gameplay, and we're all interested in some of the same things, but a lot of different things as well. It was, I really like that. So of course, we then went off we were whisked away. We literally had to be like, oh, Ian, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to have to, I know, it's just like the most humiliating thing, just being like, oh, sorry, Ian. Can't talk. I gotta go.
Dude, shut up, dude. I've got to go. But I gotta say my goodbyes.
We were being handled
you
out
can
of
carry
the room.
on once we're gone, but we've got places to be, Ian. This was fun. Let's do it again. Call me. You know my number, Ian. It's 55525. Yeah, it's like, you know, cheers, mate.
It's it was quite funny when that happened. But yeah, so we had to leave, and then we went off to talk to Maria Hamilton, who is kind of lead. Her title has changed in the past few years, but she is essentially kind of lead.
So her title at the moment, her last title, and you know, since she's been with the company, she joined right at the very end of BFA as like literally a quest designer, I think, and has had so many promotions in the time that she's been there that it's kind of impossible to keep track of what she actually does, because every time you see her, and she is featured prominently on the WoWcasts and stuff, she's often sitting there when there's a new patch or something talking about stuff, and her job title does change every time. I know her last job title was her most impressive sounding one. It was it's literally lead game designer.
Yeah, so lead game designer.
Sounds amazing. She's actually been promoted from that, but her new title, if anything, doesn't. It's kind of impossible to sound more cool than lead game designer, I always think. But so she, whatever she is now, it's even better than lead game designer. She's in charge of the world and keeping consistency in the world and how it's kind of made and implemented and stuff. And this is the first time we've ever had a chance to actually sit down and chat with her. Although it transpired, it wasn't the first time we've ever had contact with her family, because when we first started the channel, like literally about 6 or 7 years ago, before she even started working for Blizzard, she was telling us her husband emailed us on our company email to ask us where we got our green and orange carrot background that we use for the shit show segment on the weekly reset.
Yeah, and I remember
to use it in presentation.
Yeah, I remember getting an email from someone, and we get stuff like this all the time. But I remember someone being like, "Oh, hey, I love the carrot background. Could you share it with me?" And I remember sending it off and being like, cool.
Yeah.
And it turns out that was her partner. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So
that's
great.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's just funny how the world works. And and she was, I would go as far as to say that this was my favorite interview I think we've ever done with kind of like a developer.
Yeah, it was so cool. And I mean, in part because Maria was really delightful to talk to, really easy and thoughtful, and generous with all of her answers and the things she talks about. And also just because her role is so fascinating, like to me, and I think a lot of people would be interested in this. I mean, she literally looks after continuity in the world. Like the world is, thinking the world of like the world of the game, the world that we are in. Like she looks after kind of story arcs, making sure that they carry through like into the world. It like bleeds into questing. It bleeds into, what our environments look like when we're playing, the vibe, the atmosphere, the music, the sound, down to like the color of the, leaves on the trees and why they are that color and what that signifies. And of course, she brings in loads of people who are like quest designers and experts to make it happen. But yeah, she is kind of like
enforces the one true timeline.
Exactly.
She's just basically Nozdormu, except not shit. Imagine Nozdormu, but not shit.
Exactly.
And that's Maria Hamilton.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine if we'd asked her a question? She was like, I cannot foresee the answer. I know, I'd love to answer that question, but the sands of time, they're so thick. I am going to, do you know what? That is going to be one of my projects before the end of Dragonflight. I think that's going to be my way of saying goodbye to Dragonflight, because I'm doing my meta achievement at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it. And what a brilliant way to say goodbye to Dragonflight, honestly, because you're going to all the old zones,
actually
you're doing
bad,
like the storms and stuff. I pump the music up. I'm going and doing just like general day-to-day stuff in the Dragon Isles. Feels really, really good. But the last Dragonflight project I want to be before we move 100% into War Within stuff is I would love to do a compilation, and I'd have to play through everything again,
right? Like
with the camera on. But I want to do a compilation of every time Nozdormu is shit at seeing the future or the past in Dragonflight, because I have never seen any character, whether they're supposed to be able to see the future or not. I've never seen any character in any fantasy that is shitter at seeing the future than Nozdormu. He's the worst. And like every other line he has in this game is like, oh, I did not foresee this. He's like,
and it's hard. I think it's really difficult dealing with any kind of character that can see the future, because it's inherently like boring. It can be inherently really extremely boring because they're OP, right? They have an extremely OP skill, but in order to not make things go completely off the rails, you can't overuse it. So you have to hinder.
You have to keep thinking
have
of
to keep
reasons
them in
why he
check.
can't do the thing that he's famous for.
So you have to keep being like, okay, you cannot be like all powerful and like omniscient. So, the sounds are too thick.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like in Harry Potter, where, you know, J.K. Rowling invented time turners for like one little subplot in one book, basically as a joke, and then was like, oh shit, I just put time travel in this series.
Oops.
That's really bad, because now, and I've made it like a really normal thing that basically anyone could do. Damn, okay, shit. And then, like, she just writes a scene in the book where a character trips over and breaks them all. She's like, oh, time turners, they're all in one place. They're all kept in one place. And then Neville Longbottom literally trips over and breaks them all. And everyone's like, oh, well, we can't do time travel anymore. That's a shame.
Never
And
again.
honestly, I'm not sure Neville Longbottom like receives a big enough punishment for literally stripping like wizards who have always been able to time travel of the ability to time travel.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we just can't do that anymore because Neville Longbottom fell over. And that's basically what they have to do with Nozdormu. It's like, you know, because if he could see all of time like he's supposed to,
it would be really
there's no
boring.
tension. There's no narrative tension there.
there's
So
no
it's just
point.
like, oh, the sands, man, they're so thick, the sands. It's very weird. And that's why out of all of the aspects and stuff, he's the one that has to keep disappearing for very long periods of time.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, he can't be here. He can't, because he knows, right? He knows the thing we're trying to work out.
Yeah, the only way that kind of like seeing the future thing works, although, you know, like I played a divination wizard like in our D&D campaign, and that's just someone who like can occasionally be like, no, I thwart your role. I saw briefly into the future with my good roll. You know, it's just like it
That
can
works.
Exactly. It can never be. But when you get someone who can actually like, ooh, I can look ahead. It's like, no.
Well, it's not even like with Nozdormu, right? It's not even he can look ahead and he can look back and stuff. It's like, I have literally memorized the true timeline, right? I know exactly what it's supposed to be, and I know when it's wrong, and I actually know quite a fair bit about all the other timelines that aren't the true timeline as well.
I could tell you. I could just tell you all, or I don't know.
Yeah. So
Right,
like brief glimpses here and there are just like, that's not what, no, that would be fine.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so Maria Hamilton is not that.
No,
but she and we went into this interview, and I was like, you know, we're going into the World Soul Saga. We're in this unique position where they are creating the story, you know, for 3 expansions at once, for 3 expansions at the same time. And so when you're a creator, and I'm sure Mr. GM does this as well, because I'm pretty sure all creators have the same kind of mindset when they go into an interview with a WoW dev. You're looking for the headlines, right? You're asking them very specific questions about certain systems. And you're always like, no matter what their actual job title is, you're like, okay, will we get account-wide this coming up in the expansion? Will there be more classes for Drakthir? Will there be, like NAEU play, stuff like that?
Right.
That's what you're kind of, you know, and you're asking those questions. And we do that as well. And we come out of interviews and go, that was a good interview if we got a really juicy bit.
Yeah, we got some facts.
And yeah, totally. And that's just not what we did in this interview at all. We just sort of went in and we were like, we're not going to do the usual T&E interview thing. We just want to talk to her about narrative and things like that. And then as it happened, because she's so wonderful and because she's so good at talking, we got loads of juicy stuff anyway.
We did.
Because she was like so open with talking about everything, you know. And she talks. I mean, I'll probably put the interview out today before I go to bed. But she talks about kind of exactly where they are in development for the different expansions, like all the way up to Last Titan. She actually gives some really tantalizing things about Last Titan. Last Titan. We haven't even started the War Within yet, and she's talking about Last Titan.
I know.
And she's and talking about the narrative and how they've planned everything and the ending of the World Soul Saga.
And of course, it is her job to look after this, like from point A to point B to the very end, right? So it was
to the extent that when we finished the interview, and it was lovely, and we finished bang on 20 minutes. It's quite a short interview, and we just carried on. We just turned the camera off and the sound off, and we talked for about another 45 minutes because it was her last interview of the weekend, and she just sat there chatting more, like
really
just
nice
off camera, off the record sort of thing.
Yeah.
And she was just really, really lovely to. Oh yeah, while we were talking, and that was after our interview, and I'm so sorry about that, Mrs. Jem, because Mrs. Jem was interviewing Holly Longdale at the time, and a guy had to come round and be like, can you have this conversation a bit quieter, because there is still filming happening over there. And we were like, whoops.
It is really funny because everyone is so like wonderful and open, and I love these events and stuff. And so, but you get all of the different parts of the organization at work, and yeah. So my favorite was like our wonderful kind of PR guy helping us out. And organizing kind of the interviews and stuff, and then being like, okay, time to in the interview, and then him having to come in and be like, please, can you be quiet, because.
And that was after he'd already come in. And that was after, like, as he sat in on the interview, obviously, and when we finished the interview and I turned the sound off, he was like, if you want, we can give you another 10 minutes on camera to record something else with Maria, because I actually have to go unexpectedly and run this whole interview by my higher ups to make sure we can let you put it out.
Don't know if we can actually say those things. Yeah. Do you want to keep going? And then we were like, well, no, we're not going to redo the whole interview because it was so good. And then after we were like done, we was like, okay, cool. We just turned off the mic, sat and chatted to Maria, and he was just staying there, and he was like, can you please turn off the camera? Sorry.
No, totally. And he was like, literally, like, we'll let you know, because there might be some bits we ask you to cut out of this interview. And we were like, yeah, fine. I knew they wouldn't. And we did get okay for the entire thing in the end, so that's good. But so obviously she said something that made his ears prick up, and he was like, and doing his job very diligently, and well done him, right? But then even before that, so that was good, and I would be happy with that interview. I'm really happy with that interview. I think it's the best interview we've done with a dev, and that's all Maria just being brilliant, frankly. All great, and we just let her talk.
Just had a really, really great conversation with her.
But before we even started recording with Maria, after we'd been taken out, because we bumped into Holly Longdale in the morning, as we came into the place, and we were looking around enjoying all the theme parkness, and we got taken to one side to do this interview with the kind of the press team, being asked questions about the presentation we hadn't seen yet, being asked questions about the alpha that we hadn't played yet, and feeling a bit sheepish because we were like, can't wait to find out how bad those answers we just gave are, but we realize what they're talking about.
And they're like, we'll run it by you before we put it on social. It's like, yeah, please do, because it's probably going to be us sounding like absolute knobs, being like, it was like, what do you think of the alpha? I don't know, because I haven't seen it yet.
And we were just on our way to kind of take our seats for the presentation. They had like a whole kind of like auditorium decked out and stuff as well. And just as we were passing the front door to get there, Holly Longdale came in, and she was like, oh guys, and nice. we just stood there chatting, and she's like, well, I don't have an interview with you today, but I'll just come and talk to you guys about whatever you want to talk about anyway.
Come and talk?
And it's like, oh wow, that's awesome, cheers. And so we were just chatting for a while, like asking about her trip and everything, and then more PR guys came, and they were like, T&E, there you are, you need to get over here for the presentation. Holly, there you are.
Yeah.
We need you for the presentation.
Yeah. You need to do the presentation.
So it's like, we can't start the presentation because T&E aren't here, but also because Holly's not here. And so she was great. So she came and just swung by on her way, I think probably to Mr. GM's interview. She just swung by and chatted to us because there was some things that we really wanted to talk about. One of them being a big spoiler-tastic story thing, which we wanted to get her opinions on, and Ian's opinion on, and Maria's opinion on as well.
Yeah.
So when we talked about it, we could not just be like salaciously talking about this cool story thing that had popped up, but have the context of having devs talking about it and explaining why they'd done it and what their thoughts and their choices were on that.
And of course, it was a pleasure just to chat with Holly too, and like they gave a presentation. We got to watch the WoWcast. And then Holly and Maria were there, like, just, do you want to ask some questions? And Tally's like, yeah. And they're like, do you want to ask another question? He was like, yeah.
Hey, look, I did not put my hand up at first. I waited to see if anyone else put their hand up, and I gave it a good 4 seconds. And because I've always got questions I can ask.
Oh, yeah.
We had my questions that I wanted to ask for Maria, and I didn't want to give away any of those. But
no, exactly.
And I think that was the case of a lot of people.
Save
that
the
were
good ones. You're like, I'm going to save them for my
exactly.
one.
But I was like, dude, I can always ask a question. So if no one puts puts their hand up in 4 seconds. I don't want this to be awkward. I'm going to put my hand up. And so I asked a question, and then no one put their hand up for another 4 seconds, so I put my hand up again.
Yeah.
It was just Tally asking questions.
It was really good. And it was just a pleasure to see Holly as well and talk with her as well. And like, I just have to say, I really admire her and Maria. Just seeing these like two really baller women just doing it, like being extremely capable, like funny, kind, capable, like just owning it. And I feel like WoW's been on a really good roll recently. I don't think that's a controversial statement. And I wonder how much of it is down to kind of, Holly's kind of leadership and direction to some degree.
Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but I think Holly is like the ace up WoW sleeve at the moment. I think she is like, even more than Chris Metzen, I think she is really like the absolute diamond that's kind of the reason I'm like so excited about WoW at the moment. And I don't know how Mr. GM feels about this in chat, but I came out of this presentation because we've been to stuff like this before. Never in London. This was very nice, very cool. But we've been to kind of summits and things where they're showing us a new product, basically, is what it is, right? But I've never come out of one feeling as excited as I did about WoW. For WoW, I should say, coming out of this one. This was like there was a real feeling of optimism coming out of this one.
Yeah,
it was, and there's just something about WoW right now that it just feels like it's in good hands. It just feels like it's in really safe, passionate hands. And part of that is Chris Metzen being back, although, we don't see much of him. I think, I don't think we will see much of him. He's just doing his thing. And I think he purposely wants to be away from the presentation side of stuff a little bit is the feeling I get. Maybe that's wrong, but that's just the feeling I get. And so you've got people like Holly, and I think John Haidt is obviously doing some great work at the moment as well, it would seem. And then you've got people like Maria, and Ian is always there, the old reliable, who I genuinely think is a great guy to have at the center of things. And it does feel good. And the proof is in the pudding, because Dragonflight was really good gameplay-wise. It feels like The War Within is going to keep that whole gameplay philosophy and push it even further. Like this move into, there's something we'll talk about, right? But this move into WoW being less about you and your character and more about you and your account, more about you and your band of characters, like really leaning into, it's like, well, WoW is the game where you play alts. So let's really you'll have a main, but let's really take away the friction on maintaining like an army of alts that you can just like play whenever you want. And not, if not the same level as your main, a lot of the hurdles to getting them there are kind of taken away because you've done stuff already and what have you. And it's a great philosophy. It's really good. I really like the storytelling philosophy at the moment. And unlike Dragonflight, now we're going into a truly what is supposed to be an epic story, right? And straight off the bat, the second you walk into the alpha, and we'll keep our language vague here, right? But the second you walk into the alpha, the first thing you see in this first alpha and the first bits of story that you pick up on, it's very clear that the way this expansion starts is much more Legion than Dragonflight. Would you say that's fair?
Absolutely. You are in the wake of a possibly cataclysmic event. This is literally where you start. And that will play out kind of for everyone in real time when we actually get access to the game proper. It's not on the alpha. Yeah, and as you start, it's they talked about this a lot kind of in the interviews and things. And I think the WoW community has some fatigue in thinking about cataclysmic events and the world being, everything is at stake. We had a breather, right? We had Dragonflight where things were at stake, but it didn't quite feel like they were. Not in a bad way. I'm not saying it's a bad way. It felt a bit more relaxed. It felt like the conflicts that we faced there were like kind of a bit more contained, and we got over them together with the power of friendship. And now there seem to be kind of like real effects on our world, real consequences. And everyone there, Holly, Maria, Ian, everyone really wanted to stress how all of these feelings they're not unearned. They're not interested in burning everything down just for shits and giggles. They really want to make sure that people don't feel betrayed, that people don't feel upset by stuff, that they're kind of there for the ride, and that they feel like things are at stake and they want to all be in it together. So that came across to me like really, really nicely and really clearly, and I do quite believe them, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And Dragonflight, it was very clear right from the very beginning what Dragonflight was intended to be. I would say even from the reveal cinematic, what Dragonflight was supposed to be. It was, it was backed up in
a rainbow of dragon.
Yeah,
coming
it was a celebration of the world.
Yeah,
like Maria Hamilton was saying off camera. And there's lots of stuff I won't repeat that she said off camera, but I think something I'm sure she'd be fine with me repeating is she said, like the main, she agrees with Chris Metzen's famous quote really, where she's like, the world is the main character of World of Warcraft. That's why I love my job of looking after the consistency of it and stuff. And it's always got to be a celebration of that. And Dragonflight was after Shadowlands took us away from Azeroth and, these very strange environments and stuff. Dragonflight was always supposed to be the much vaunted holiday expansion that everyone always said they always wanted. Ever since we've been making content, whenever it's time to start thinking about a new expansion stuff, you can guarantee there's always going to be a huge amount of people who are like, I just want a chill holiday expansion. I just don't want a world-ending threat. I want to just like potter about, meet some new cultures, explore some places, and not have this like big overarching thing. I just want the holiday expansion. I was always like, I'm not sure if we do want a holiday expansion, but okay. But and this was it. This is as close as WoW's ever going to get to a holiday expansion. Like clearly there was a world-ending threat that we had to beat, but it never felt like particularly kind of dangerous. It never felt like I never felt like the world was on the line, right? No. Even though they told me it was. Because if Firak had taken over the Emerald Dream, he would have used it to set fire to the whole of that. That was his thing, right? It was like, I'm going to use the power of the Emerald Dream. If I can basically just, I'm dumbing it down a bit here, but if I can just set fire to the Emerald Dream, I basically set fire to Azeroth, right? So that's what it was. Easy to miss that because much like King Mechagon, who also, by the way, was seconds away from literally turning everyone on Azeroth into like a robot,
right?
Which we can. That is also a big world-ending threat, right? Like he was one button press away from turning the entire everyone into a mindless robot. So again, but it never really felt like that. It never really felt like the world was on the brink of like disaster in Mechagon, and likewise Dragonflight as well. So it was the holiday expansion, and the finest moments of Dragonflight are when you're doing your fishing dailies in the Waking Shores, or flying around getting your treasures in the Naran Plains, or the multitude of world events and stuff. And I really like it, and it's fantastic. But the one thing it definitely lacked, and that everyone agrees that it lacked, was that sense of danger, that sense of fighting for your lives, that sense of meaningful events that are having a huge impact, like on the world or whatever, and that definitely need to be stopped. And we're going to need to get these important characters involved to help us, which is like the WoW way, right? And War Within definitely has that in spades. When you started, and it was like made public in the alpha and the beta for Legion, kind of the character deaths that were opening that expansion. And when you're just hearing about it, you go, Game of Thrones was at its like peak at the time as well, so you're just like, oh, they're just doing a Game of Thrones, they're trying to make it seem high stakes just by like shock value and killing these characters and stuff. But and that honestly could be true, but then you started Legion and you played through it, and I still remember the day that the Broken Shore, which was before the actual launch of the expansion, but I remember the day that went live, and I remember obviously I wasn't doing the channel full time then, I was still working as a tour guide, and I got up early so that I could play through the Broken Shore on my Alliance character, and obviously that culminated with the Alliance version of the big Broken Shore cinematic and the death of Varian Rin, and I knew it was coming because, you know, all the quests that you've been playing in beta were like, oh, poor old Varian, right? But so there was no everyone in the community knew about it, but it was seeing how it happened, and that's going to be the case with lots of stuff in War Within as well.
Yes.
But that cinematic, I remember, it knocked me for 6 and it shook me. And the best comparison I can think of is your boy's death in Game of Thrones with the eyes. Pedro Pascal's death in Game of Thrones. Yeah. Because I remember seeing that. I couldn't watch Game of Thrones for a couple of weeks after that. I was like genuinely
that
shook.
one really that one really you know, in a show, right, where people were, you know, which opens with the guy you think is going to be the main guy just dying. I remember being like really shaken by that one. So I think we have, you know, no one's getting their eyeballs squeezed out, I hope.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know. But you know, like I said, there's this sense from the team that they're like, we're doing right by this stuff, and it's not going to be unmerited, anything that happens. And I do understand people kind of hearing about what things that do happen, characters that might die, and go, no way, I quit. I don't want that to happen, because you haven't experienced it yet. And when we do experience it, which we will all together, right? And that'll be a completely different game. Then I look forward to seeing how that feels, because I think it's going to be like impactful, and I think it's going to be okay.
But the expansion does start off with a sense of loss. We won't tell you what it is, but be aware that there's literally no way you're not going to find out. Like with even more so than the Varian and Vol'jin thing. Like it's kind of impossible to talk about the story of the War Within without talking about it. And you're gonna hear it, and that's fine. But just be prepared. Like, unless you're willing to like listen to no podcasts, watch no videos, stay off Twitter. You should probably do that anyway. But like, you're gonna find out in 6 months, right? And that's okay. And they know that. Like I say, it was the first thing we saw when we logged in for alpha, and in fact, you know, there's a shot of it in the WoWcast as well. Because I remember, I don't know if someone was filming everyone watching the WoWcast when we watched it in the presentation, but I just went, oh!
Yeah, we all went, oh!
You know? So yeah, and they know that there's no way they can have an alpha or beta without people realizing it, because characters reference it and stuff like that. So what they're doing is they're saying, well, yeah, people won't play the introductory quests, we won't test those, and there's clearly going to be a very big cinematic connected to those. So it's that usual thing that you have to do with WoW, where it's like your enjoyment is going to be the how rather than the what. You know, the what with WoW is almost always out there. And Blizz have to lean into that a little bit, because they can't avoid it, and as players you have to lean into it, I find, as well, because you just go mad, you never be able to talk about it otherwise. And the enjoyment that you take from it has to be through the how. And that definitely worked in Legion with the Broken Shore, and that's what they're going to have to go for here too. Didn't work so well with the Burning of Teldrassil, of course. Everyone was like actually genuinely super hyped about the Burning of Teldrassil. Hard to think about that now.
I know.
In my memory,
time, right?
everyone was pretty, you know, excited about the Burning of Teldrassil, and the speculation was high, and everyone was really into it, and thoroughly let down by the how, you know, and our kind of bad memories of Teldrassil now, and the way people talk about Teldrassil now is very much based on how disappointed people were with the how, and the idea that, you know, what is it? Maybe the Alliance set fire to it themselves, so that the Horde can't have it, or maybe it's the old gods, and then it was, you know, it was Sylvanas just getting in a paddy, basically, just getting annoyed. Which I it's, you know, whatever, man, but it is what it is.
So it is interesting, kind of with, you know, thinking about how all this is like released and how people experience it when it comes out. So I've been keeping up with all the data mining, which I'm really excited by,
which we'll move on to in a little bit.
Which we'll talk to you in a minute. And you know, looking through Wowhead, looking through what everyone's tweeting and stuff. But the one thing that I am kind of consciously trying to avoid, which I always do to some degree, is like the storytelling and quest lines. I'm doing my best to not look at those.
Yeah, sure. But then, like, to a certain degree, we have to be able to talk about it.
I know. We do have to. We do have to look at them. But as they've been coming up, I was like, actually, I don't want that right now. I want to look at these incredible, like sets, that drop, right?
Well, and that's why I barely played any of the alpha while we were there. I probably only did about 10 minutes play, really, because literally what I did was I got on there and I opened the sets tab. And I went through the sets.
Yeah.
And I opened the mount tab and I went through the new mounts. I was like, all of this stuff is going to be like on Wowhead tomorrow, right? But I want to see it now. Yeah. That's what I want to see. And I mean, some of them are just amazing and beautiful. But the whole reason I was talking about the whole loss that happens at the beginning of the War Within was sort of to set the scene that stakes are back, right? Danger is back, consequences are back, and stuff like that. And that's true, but also because you brought up the Nerubians earlier, and you were saying how you were kind of hoping they could be like a Suramarian kind of experience.
Yes.
The loss that happens at the beginning of the War Within is very much connected to the Nerubians, and it's kind of there to show you how bad and dangerous the Nerubians are. Yeah. And to the extent that I don't think there's really room for we're gonna live in their city for a bit and experience their culture. It's like,
I don't mean
they
that.
are very much being kind of set up as, oh, look at this awful thing they've done. And like
they done
really kind of setting them as baddies.
Yeah,
in a way.
But within them there are different factions, right?
And there always are.
And we'll get that whole story too. Really excited to see the Nerubians, and they are of course based in what seems like the final, deepest, darkest, what's it called? They're a zone, Aj Kahet. Like literally the deepest as you go. Yeah. And it'll be kind of like the culminating zone when the expansion first comes out.
And it gets me thinking, right? It gets me thinking these zones and the last raid and that's at the bottom, right? The last raid and the last zone is at the bottom. Like I say, you go down and down and down and down is what we've been led to believe, or like it's kind of steps down, I guess. And but the Nerubian city is like as deep as it goes. What happens in 11.1?
Yeah, do you go deeper?
Yeah,
what
do you go deeper or do you go up?
Right.
Are we gonna? Okay, so I've always said the expansion. When people ask me what expansion I want, I'm always like, I bring up that key art of Hearthstone with all the airships. Just search Hearthstone airship key art, and it's like a sky full of airships,
right?
And they're having adventures in the sky and stuff. And I'm like that. That's the concept art for the
Airships.
Expansion that I want. That's it. I want like the up in the air, like flying city. Hey, tell you what would be really good for that, Dalaran. Like floating up in the air, airships, like and that's the one I want. That'd be brilliant. So I mean, if I was at Blizz and I was planning a patch to come after the entire opening of expansion was set underground, I would probably throw that out there. If I was sitting at that desk in that meeting, I'd be like, what about airships and do it all in the sky for patch 10.1, 11.1?
Maybe.
Why not, eh?
I mean, we already get airships. We get them in Hallowfall. Hallowfall is full of airships.
Yes, Hallowfall is full of airships. So what if they just go up and up and up?
Which is really exciting. And I think there's something. So the zones we get the Isle of Dorne at the top. You work your way down into the Ringing Deeps, which for me is like kind of the least interesting off the bat. I'm sure it's going to be super cool, but that's the Earthen, right? Doing their Earthen things. Earthen, to be fair, their customization options are insane.
Okay, right. Let's get on to the actual alpha now.
Let's do it.
And you can frame this as something that you experienced when you were playing it, Evie.
Yes, exactly.
Or you can frame it as because we have not got alpha yet. So everyone else at this presentation all had early access alpha as well. So they've been playing it for like the whole time they've been there. Yeah. We have not, and we were like, we probably got that as well, but we haven't logged on because we've been here. We got home. We have not got alpha yet. Everyone else who had early access is playing on their stream and stuff. Yeah. So we're doing that nervous thing that we had in BFA when the BFA beta came out and the BFA alpha came out, where people are starting to go, I got my alpha, gonna be playing it on stream today. We were like, we were on holiday for your birthday, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were in Poland, and we were checking our accounts and be like, we do not have alpha yet. And then Evie got alpha and I didn't get alpha, and I was like, okay, well at least one of us has got it, so we can do work on there and stuff. And then Evie got alpha again, so she had 2, and I still
alpha.
didn't have it, and that's where I got into a little bit of a tizzy. That's where I got a
yeah.
little bit annoyed. So at the moment, I'm kind of like, we've been told that we're flagged for it, but at this moment, I'm just constantly checking the launcher, and I don't have it yet. So there's this part of me which is like, I'm never going to be able to make WoW videos ever again.
I know.
That's the end of. We're gonna have to do the Ghibli rating video that we've always said we're gonna do instead. We can't do this. So but we have played some of the alpha, and obviously we've seen all the data mining and the things that are coming out as well, and also things that we talked to devs about too. So the way we're gonna frame this bit where we talk about the actual alpha is obviously I don't want to just go and list everything, and obviously we're going to kind of more scripted analysis of stuff in the weekly reset.
Yeah.
Dan, by the way, that thing you just said in my chat, could you just DM that to me? I'd love to see that. Thank you. So we're going to take turns just to say, bring up something that we really like.
Yes.
That we've seen about on the alpha, either so you can bring up a certain like transmog set or a certain kind of change or something that you've seen, or a certain character or a certain
right.
So I'll start.
Okay, you start. What jumps out as you?
Well,
at you? Words are hard.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so one thing that we're going to be definitely talking about in the weekly reset is something that's come up through data mining. So this is currently a red bot spoiler bot, but it's not really, okay? Just so you know, it's not like a story thing. It has to be a red bot simply because it's been discovered through data mining, but this isn't a big story spoiler or anything like that. Not like the thing we were studiously avoiding just now. It's a new race that's in the game. Now, obviously, there are lots of new races in the game, like the Earthen. How excited on a scale of 1 to 10 are you about the Earthen?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm like, fine, whatever. And then I saw their customization options, and they look incredible. They genuinely look so good. The heritage armor is like a second skin, right? As you can imagine, a kind of like stone, and it's different colors. You can have like encrusted gems in them. They actually look like effing awesome. And I had to take a moment, and I was like, oh, hold on.
I've got to admit, I'm not totally into them yet. I'm not very sold on them. And I've got a feeling that, as you quest and you get to know them personality-wise and stuff, I think they're playing it pretty well. And they do look cool, whatever. And as long as they're different enough from actual dwarves. They're made of stone. They eat rocks, which I don't know how I feel about that, but okay. They eat rocks. Let's forget the cannibalism part of it for a second here. They eat rocks. I'm not going to
think about it that deeply.
They eat rocks and they live in caves, which is like if I lived in a house made out of cheese, right?
Okay,
It's like if I literally built my house out of cheese. It's like, I love eating rocks. What should we make our houses out of?
All right.
Rocks.
I'm not ready to think about this.
Do you want to come around my house for dinner? It's like...
On a very surface level.
I've got a new one. Anyway, but whatever. That's not the race I want to talk about, okay? Although I am slowly coming around to them. The race I want to talk about is a race that has been discovered in the data, and it's called the Harronir. Now, the Harronir are a half-troll, half night elf race.
Well, not explicitly, but that's what they look like, right?
They use the night elf rig and they look like trolls, and people are already calling them the missing link between the dark trolls and the night elves.
Tell us more about that.
Do you know the history of World of Warcraft?
I have a surface level understanding. Tell me.
The way the night elves came about was the world was basically run by trolls. It was trolls everywhere, right? And some dark trolls settled by the Well of Eternity, which is, the huge well made of Azeroth's blood, full of arcane energy, because Azeroth is a titan. Really interesting answer from Maria Hamilton when we basically asked her straight up if we were like, yo, the ending of Emergisil kind of sounds like Azeroth isn't a titan. Would you like to clarify that one way or another? And we won't tell you what she said. You have to watch the interview. But it was a very interesting answer. Just so you know, literally, we could make a whole video out of this answer, which I'm very excited about. Anyway, the Dark Trolls, they settled around the Well of Eternity, and all the arcane energy from the Well of Eternity over time made them evolve and change. And evolve is often misused by people to mean kind of ascending to a higher form. That's not what evolution means. It just means you change, kind of like in line with your environment. And they evolved into night elves. That's how night elves began. They were dark trolls who kind of like were infused by arcane energy from the well, and they turned into night elves. So people are calling these the Harronir. They're calling them the missing link, basically, between dark trolls and night elves. And it's easy to see why, honestly. Yeah. They've kind of got like hairy thighs and hairy shoulders. Yeah. But they use the night elf rigs. They're unmistakably night elven in that sense. But their features are very troll-like. They've got an underbite with troll-type tusks. They're a bit smaller than on troll females. And they've got kind of pointy ears, which are more elven than troll. So and their hairstyles are more kind of troll-like, and their hair is generally kind of that vibe.
They have quills. They can have quills.
Oh, they have quills. Yeah, exactly.
On their shoulders.
I don't know if they are supposed to be the missing link, but considering, this is the World Soul Saga, which is based around Azeroth, and dark trolls turned into night elves through the blood of Azeroth and their exposure to it.
Right,
it would certainly be fitting the vibe of the story that you assume they're going to be telling to have like this missing link between dark elves and trolls.
And of course they have that beautiful kind of like subterranean eye, that like kind of similar eye to Mummy Xal'atath, with like kind of they look great. They look so cool.
Yeah. They basically just look like a mix between trolls and elves. Now, another very interesting, and we as far as I'm aware, no one's really kind of experienced them in the story in the alpha or anything.
No,
like
so we have no idea.
Is purely so it's going to be deeper. It's going to be much deeper. But a very interesting thing about them is they have all of the customizations flagged in their files that you would expect from a playable race. So, in fact, they actually have more flagged than the Vulpera did. So we kind of knew that the Vulpera were going to be an allied race, even though they'd never been announced as that in BFA, because when their models hit the data, it was like all the exact same things, all like the little boxes that you have to tick on their data sheet to enable them, like the armor sets that they can equip and stuff like that, and the amount of clothes that they can swap out and things and what have you. These Harronir, they have all of those boxes ticked and more. So if they're not an allied race, it's kind of going to be a surprise at this point. And, they're half elf, they're half dwarfs, half troll, sorry. So, I mean, the perfect faction-neutral allied race, you thought, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're apparently subterranean, right? They have two different feet options.
Yeah.
You can have feet or you can have claws,
which is kind of wild. And they're just really cool. They're really beautiful. And linked to this, I know I was only supposed to say one thing, but linked to this, it's also in the data at the moment, customization options for basically all humans, which allow them to have slightly pointy half elven ears.
Cool.
Which is and also for elves, which allow them to have rounded ears.
So long overdue.
In the data at the moment, it certainly looks, and there's a reason for this, which will be one of the next things I say, which I bring up after you've had your turn.
Oh, okay, then I won't talk about that thing, which I wanted to talk about.
I think there is a. Oh no, you can talk whatever you want to talk about.
No, it's fine.
Because I've got a feeling like I'll say something else. But if I know what you're about to say, because I would say it as well. But I think there's a specific reason why these are finding their way in. I think there is one specific instance where this was a thing where they went, oh, should we just extend this to everyone? And that instance is very, very cool. Wowhead have got some great data mining on this, showing these customizations, these half elf, I'm going to call them half elven customizations.
I think it's fair.
And it means Arator can finally be a proper half elf.
Exactly.
I don't know if you have, but I haven't seen an Arator model yet. Presumably there is one somewhere.
I have not seen it.
How interesting.
Very
Okay, well that's my thing is the Harronir and the half elven customizations. What do you want to bring up as your first thing that you like about the alpha so far?
I'm gonna be really, really basic and talk about armor sets because let's be real. Let's be real.
Okay, which armor set would you want to bring up so I can bring it up on screen for people that are watching?
Please pull up the outdoor Arathor armor.
Oh, I knew it. I mean, this is one of the ones I actually managed to find
my God.
when I was looking through it on the alpha. So I've seen this like on my own character.
Oh
as well,
my God.
Which is really nice.
Oh, guys, right? So they're releasing the tier sets as well. I can't talk about this without mentioning the Hunter tier set, which is not the worst, but also continues to fail to bring me any joy.
Oh no! I heard that they were okay. I heard they were all right.
But Tally, all right. Like,
okay.
What is the bar?
Okay.
On the other hand, there's a rogue set, which is basically an ethereal.
Oh yeah,
rogue sets are just ethereals, which suggests maybe we make some contact. Maybe, I don't know. I would love that.
We have found ethereal models in the data as well.
Yes,
there are some very dangerous looking ethereals.
Like really freaky ethereals. Evoker looks incredible, which is a shame.
It's Deathwing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The Evoker set is Deathwing. Yeah.
Looks so good.
In different colors.
But like, who's gonna wear it? Well, who uses visage form? I mean, apparently there are things coming in the future where you can stay in visage form, and like Ian talks a bit about like, there'll be things where you can, focus more on a visage form style Drakthir who plays a different class, etc. Okay, maybe. Anyway, so the tier sets, some of them look really cool, some of them are fine. The real creme de la creme for me are these outdoor just questing.
So these are like the questing
models.
sets,
These
right?
These are the questing sets. And these are ones you get from the Arathor, right?
So this is Hallowfall, which I think is the zone that everyone's the most excited about.
Yeah.
I love the outdoor zone, the one on the surface. I think it's really, really cool. I'm a big fan of it. But I think once we get underground, there's one zone which is like, it's all mining stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, crystalline caves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As you'd expect. It's like the industrial heart of the Earthen. And you're like, okay, it's like a really big, shiny Iron Forge. That's going to be really cool.
It's going to be amazing.
But then you go a little bit deeper, and there's this zone which basically looks like, Avalon, right?
Yeah.
It's King Arthur waiting under the earth, waiting for the time when he is called back to defend Avalon.
Yeah.
And that's I'm pretty sure that is the whole inspiration they've taken for that. And the centerpiece of this zone, you've definitely seen it on the trailers and stuff, is a huge, let's not fuck around. It's a Naru, right? Huge crystal.
What did you just say about
crystal in which, when people saw it on the trailer, they thought it was the tip of the sword. They thought it was the tip of the sword, but no, it's the other side of the world.
Well, because in the messaging, they're like, "Oh, there's this big sword outside, underground. There's this thing," and everyone's like, "Surely, that's just." And you're like, no.
No, but it's a crystal in the roof.
It's a crystal.
And what that does is it works, and it's golden like a sun. So it works like an underground sun.
Well, it changes, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. And the it makes the ceiling kind of blue and atmospheric. Not atmospheric, but like it's got an atmosphere sort of thing. So the crystal changes color, and we know it's kind of like a Breath of the Wild thing, like a Blood Moon thing, where sometimes. Something Naru do as well, isn't it? Weirdly, but it's probably not a Naru. Sometimes it goes kind of purple and voidy, and new enemies come out in the zone, and the enemies in the zone change and stuff like that. And there are triggers throughout questing where this happens, and then you can guarantee it's going to be a world event as well,
Super
right?
cool.
Like where this happens.
One of the devs was talking about in the presentation about how in one of the Hallowfall dungeons, you're kind of in this like cathedral, and there's this like perfect framing of
it looks so good
through the window, kind of like up against the final boss. There's clearly it's really cool because it's environmental and it's deeply tied to
What's her
everything
name? That's another dev that we've met before.
Yes, we have.
We met her at the 8.2 summit, and her job, and she was so excited to be going around talking to everyone then, because her job was literally just making doodads.
Yes, I remember.
I'm a doodad maker.
Yeah,
I make the doodads. So if you see a little book on the floor somewhere, that was me. If you see a little bottle that's tipped over somewhere, that was me. I make the doodads. And now she's like on the WoWcast. She's in charge of like how things look. And
Brilliant.
I love seeing people's like journey through the game and kind of just these very cool people. And I just remember I remember her because she was particularly lovely.
Yes, she
and
was
just
super
really
cool.
nice. It's great to see her doing so well and enjoying her job so much. But she was very pleased with that framing.
Yeah. So when we're in this amazing crystal airship, like, Arathi Inquisitor folks, which is just, I love this kind of like mind-bending theme. I love the flavor they've given it here. So the sets that just dropped from questing are absolutely nuts. And I remember
which one's your favorite one?
Okay, so I mean, can we? Well, I like the cloth. That's
okay.
pretty.
So the cloth has a real kind of a priesty kind of look.
It's priesty. It's gonna be priesty.
Yeah.
Leather is like the airship guy.
Yes.
Which is incredible.
Yeah, really good
guy
kind of like
with
junker
bombs.
airship people. Yeah.
With bombs. He has bombs on his belt.
Always good.
Like literal, just little bombs tied up on there. Love it. I mean, look at this mail set. Look at this mail set.
So the mail set is the one that's driving everyone crazy, right?
Thank you. And I'm so much more excited just to get this than I am my tier set, right? I mean,
I'm so happy for you.
I'm look how beautiful it is.
So
You've got the long cloak.
I think this is the best WoW set.
The colors look incredible. I mean, if anything, you're a bit ahead of the curve, as it were, with your Mivanwi's Inquisitor like themed transmog. Because this plays into that like perfectly.
Oh yeah, it's very Crusades. It's very like kind of Arthurian knight. It's super exciting. And the thing that WoW does now, which I think is the single greatest innovation in WoW transmogs, is the trousers that also have like kind of skirts or cloaks going around them. So they make long jackets out of that. They make
so good.
And they've been doing that since the end of Shadowlands. It's like and they're really finding cool things to do with it now.
Yeah, and I love the mail one because they're like, what should we put in it? Everything.
Yeah.
Mail, cloth, fur.
Well, it could be a plate set.
Yeah, but it's like, mail, cloth, fur, weird holy helmet with like holes in it, like little skirt that flaps around, beautiful, like a big pin on your chest. Oh, and bombs. Oh, and vials on the belt, but also bombs.
It kind of looks like a Revendreth or Nathria set, but without the vampire.
Yeah, without the spikes.
Like imagine like the vampireness kind of stripped from Revendreth and Nathria sets and kind of replaced with cool crusadery stuff, and that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
But I love it because it's got like a fur ruff around the neck, around like a kind of. I like it because it kind of mail armor in WoW. I feel like we've forgotten that mail armor is really heavy. Like mail armor is really heavy armor. Like it might not be as heavy as like pure plate, but mail is like, you try walking around with like a chainmail kind of vest on, you're not putting much else on, to be honest. It's like, and WoW often shows mail armor as being relatively light and kind of breezy, and it's like, no, that shit is heavy, and I love how heavy and solid this armor looks.
Yeah, and really the problem for hunters has always been like, you get some really beautiful hunter themed sets, I think particularly for night elves, I mean, or if you get kind of more like trolls, so they're more tied into kind of like races when they look really amazing. And then the other default just for like global hunters is the skull of the thing I killed on my face. And then sometimes that's cool, but I think but like you say, it's like it needs to feel heavy, but it's just like bones and like leather scraps. And you're like, doesn't feel like mail to me. You know what I mean? That doesn't quite get it. Whereas this for me, like you say, it feels like mail armor. So as a hunter, I'm rejoicing that I can wear something that feels like mail. Oh, yeah, and of course, absolutely. The plate set is nuts and just takes the the male, which already looks quite cool and just ramps up the pauldrons and the spiky head, and I love these, and like the colors are really beautiful. Like I love the kind of murky blue and gold one. It doesn't feel like Alliance blue, it just feels like something new. And then you get the weapons, which have a really nice I guess riff on the original Legion like outline effect, like the glowing outline effect, but they've turned it into a kind of ombre glow that kind of gets more intense towards one end and then is kind of flaming as well. Like there's some flaming guns. The daggers have that as well, so they're kind of infused with this slightly flaming glow magic, which I really like. There are some maces which are just like floating little like stars, which look unreal. And I was thinking about what you said about like painted rocks, and like, yeah, it often feels like I get what you mean now. But they've added some stuff that takes things to another level. The staff, have you seen the staves?
No, tell me about them.
Look at them.
Oh, they're like huge
banners,
aren't they?
right? They have huge banners and stuff. Anyway, swords have a really cool kind of like faded effect. I saw these and I got so excited. I'm like, dang, I'm gonna look so good when I'm just leveling. Like, I'm gonna look so good. I could have done with a bow. Could have done with a cool bow. But hey,
they're kind of guns, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is something that jumped out at me that I was like, yes, thank you. Because let's be real, Dragonflight had great like world questing armor sets as well, especially for like Evoker. As I was playing, like you pick it up and you just suddenly look really good. Like the coherence was really nice. And these, 10 out of 10 for me. Loving this.
Yeah.
All right, Tally.
My turn. Well, as if there wasn't reason to love Hallowfall, as if Hallowfall wasn't already everyone's favorite zone, just because of the way the zone is, right? Mm-hmm. As if that wasn't enough already. Mm-hmm. Now they've got all these armor sets and stuff as well. Do you know what?
What?
The more I think about it, the more I think, the natural progression for this expansion is that we all get on Hallowfall airships, Arathi airships, and go off into the sky.
Go somewhere.
Yeah. Totally.
Where?
It just makes sense,
Sky
right?
under the earth?
We'll have dealt with the threat, down there.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, oh no, Xal'atath's gone up in the air now. We got to go get her.
Yeah.
And we'll all fly up in airships.
The void.
Yeah. So there's a couple of models that I want to bring up.
Yes.
And
this is what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But,
the first one is the second one I'm going to show you is connected to what we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
But the first one is my favorite bit of the WoWcast, honestly, and that is the model for Dagran.
Oh, look at him.
Who is Moira's son, who has been in the game since vanilla, right? It's the reason we find out that Moira is pregnant at the end of the dungeon where we first meet her in vanilla. And here he is. This is him, right? This is Dagran. And his model is just so glorious. It's so lovely. It's so thoughtful and full of character and just kind of doing nice things with the standard Dark Iron Dwarf model. And I love it because he's a nerd basically, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's got these little round Harry Potter glasses and this floppy hair. And he's wearing a nice little jacket.
He's absolutely beardless.
He's completely beardless, obviously. Yeah, definitely. He's still got huge, huge hands, like the biggest hands you've ever seen in your entire life. And a little scroll pouch in front as well. And there's very few times I've seen a new WoW model for a new character where you just feel like you understand their character so instantly. The second you saw this model, you were just like, I know that dude and I like that dude.
Yeah.
He's okay. Did you have that same reaction as well?
Absolutely. And he's adorable. And everyone's like, oh, he was a baby.
Yeah.
And now he's a little guy and he's Moira's son. Moira is looking like insanely cool too.
Oh, Moira looks like a stone queen.
Yeah. Moira looks...
She's incredible. She's really stepped up. She's ready for some fighting.
Yeah, she is. And she has all of these like beautiful like elements in her armor.
Dressed up for Anduin, do you think? Because we know he likes dwarves. We know he's got a thing for dwarves.
He does have a thing for dwarves, but
Just
man,
saying.
she is widowed, right?
Yeah, right.
She is a widow.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Well, anyway. And you know that he's her son.
But it is true that any female character who pops up is automatically shipped with Anduin. It's like, oh, this character they clearly created
Really?
so that Anduin
Female
can...
characters?
This is what?
Have you met Rathian?
No, I know, but that's a whole different area of the internet.
Okay.
There's a thing where we've got it in our heads as WoW players that every eligible female that crops up of vaguely the same age.
Could it be his wife?
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is so he can continue the line like we live in 1740 or something, right? And it's like,
look, it is a reasonable, maybe not expectation, but for a story about a prince, a king, what happens next, you continue the lineage.
Well, yeah, there is going to be a very awkward conversation with Dagran, isn't there, where we tell him about how his father died.
Yeah, does he not know?
Well, we'll see.
Has Moira not told him?
We'll find out.
She's his mom.
It was awkward enough with Moira, honestly.
Yeah, it's
but
sorry.
Can you look into those beautiful golden eyes, that beautiful innocent face, and can you tell it? I'm not going to tell him. But someone I will tell anything to if they ask is the next model that we're going to point out. And this is not only is it a stunning model, but it's a model with a very interesting name.
Yeah.
Feyrin Lothar.
Right. So do we know?
Now, for those of you just listening to the podcast with only your ears and not your eyes, Feyrin Lothar is clearly from Hallowfall, or it's clearly where we meet her because she's dressed in those kind of clothes. But her clothes are unique. And she is, I suspect, the genesis of these half-elfen customizations that we've seen now, kind of like. Able to be made for other races as well.
Yeah, she's got these lovely little pointy ears.
She is a human model, very clearly a human, but with pointy elf ears. She is a half elf because obviously we are talking about a famous Lothar here. And like all of the Chud guys in early Warcraft lore, they all had the hottest elf ladies in your entire life fall in love with them. And for some reason just really, really love these very kind of like standard dudes.
Just guys. Yeah, like when I go to sleep and I close my eyes, I see like the standard human male model.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think we don't know for sure, but the speculation at the moment is that she could be the daughter and or other relative somewhere along the line of Anduin Lothar. So not only has she just been born and put in the game so that Anduin can marry her and continue the line,
of course,
they've even, he's even named after her dad.
Oh, perfect.
Exactly. But she looks awesome. She's got like a unique haircut with a scar. She's got one arm, and so she's got a pointy shield instead of her left arm currely, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
She's got big scars on her face, but she's still hot as all fuck. Don't worry about that. This isn't this like Mark Kern would be fine with this. He wouldn't be offended by the uglification.
Are you sure? Because she's given a bit of a non-binary vibe.
Well, and also there's something about her that I suspect Mark Kern wouldn't like.
Yeah.
There's just one thing about her that I really suspect Mark Kern wouldn't like, and I can't put my finger on it, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Something that I just know he wouldn't like it, but I just can't quite put my finger on it. Anyway, so she looks awesome. She looks really badass. She's missing an eye. She's missing an arm, all down the same side of her body, actually. But she's got unique armor. She's got a unique look, unique haircut. She's very, very awesome. Now, there might be a bit of a spoiler here as well, unfortunately, because I have heard we've found models of her with 2 arms.
No way. Really?
And without the scar.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's true. I can't confirm if this is true or not. I haven't seen said model.
Well, if that's true, that's a really cool model.
It could be a flashback. Like my betting would actually be that it's a flashback and it's not actually something that happens in the game. But it did make me laugh when someone was like, "Oh, the model I found of her had 2 arms."
Yeah. Oh, she gives me vibes of the from the Dragon Prince, the Night Lady, the Protector.
Very much.
Yeah. That's the vibe.
Yeah, she does. I forget her name, but the Death Protector lady from Dragon Prince.
So awesome.
Yeah, she's got that definite vibe about her. Yeah, for sure. And
Maya, that's right. Auntie Maya.
Yeah, thank you.
Love her.
But her transmog is absolutely brilliant and on point. And you know what? It's so funny, isn't it? There's basically no other character that looks like her in WoW currently.
No, she looks incredible.
The second you see her, you go, oh, wow, who's that? She's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just very, very excited about her. Obviously, the name is very exciting as well. It's impossible not to have the name, know the name, and be like, oh, how interesting. The fact that she is a half-elf, the fact that these half-elf customizations are kind of being rolled out and what have you. I'm very, very excited about this character. It'll be someone I'm watching kind of out for in the alpha very closely.
Oh, yeah.
And I haven't seen an Arator model yet, but yeah, he is a half elf as well, right? So I would love to see him ditch the blood elf model and be a proper half elf in the same way that this lady is.
You know what I want to believe? I want to believe that Chris Metzen was recording his lines for the dragon he plays in I was going to call it the
in Dragon Prince.
In Dragon Prince.
Yeah.
And I want to believe that he was doing that and he saw Amaya and was like, I want her. I want this amazing lesbian fighter woman in my game. Can we just take her? We'll switch her up a bit, but can we just have her?
We'll switch her up and just make her look like her girlfriend in the Dragon. It's like,
yes, exactly.
We're going to take the character and then we're just going to make her look like her girlfriend and we're going to mix those two
her wife.
Yeah, sorry. Those two ones together and that's our character, right? And then dress her in crusade gear and we're done.
Yes, yeah. But I really like the idea of him being there and just being like, hold on, who's that?
Yeah, she does look like their child from the Dragon Prince.
Yes,
yeah. Just slap a Lothar on it, get it out the door. Yeah, let's roll.
Amazing.
Wicked. Okay, so that was my next choice. What's yours? Things that you like.
I'm sorry, I got so excited.
I know. I did notice you weren't looking at anything else up.
Can we talk about some of the other NPCs and characters that they've data mined?
Sure. What?
So if you go to on that same page, we've got a character called Orwena, which is one of these new. So she is an NPC of these new Harronir. I might have said that name wrong. It's not in my muscle memory to say that racial name yet. But I think it's Harronir, right? And she looks amazing, right? And I love this. You've got these kind of troll marking.
Well, dress wise, they've kind of got a kind of turn a scythe kind of vibe to them.
And one thing they data mined along with them was a kind of a spell that they're linked to, which is nature magic. So they're linked to nature magic in some way. And that's giving me, she's wearing leaves and vines, but deep earth. I really dig it. You get the queen as well, Queen Ansarek, which looks amazing.
So this is the boss of the first raid, right?
Yeah, and apologies to arachnophobes. So I think when you turn on the arachnophobia filter, it will also change bosses.
So when you asked Ian Hezekiah about this specifically,
I did.
You asked if the final boss of the raid was going to come under the arachnid filter. And he didn't know.
He didn't know.
He didn't give a very clear answer on it. He said maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say probably no.
He suggested that when they didn't have the filter apply to them, because there will be spider models that don't, it will be casters because it doesn't work with the casting animation. The crabs are bad casters, apparently. So if it's a spider with a human body and hands, even if they've got spider legs as well,
doesn't apply.
That might not apply in the filter, and that certainly seems to be the case with this boss. She is just she's a huge black widow, but she's like a centaur, but a spider centaur, right? Is what I guess you'd call it. I'd imagine she's probably got quite a lot of casting animations.
Yeah, no doubt,
So,
no doubt.
I
Like
mean-
dancing around.
yeah.
On her
And
many
with
legs.
bosses, you're gonna need those visual cues and stuff.
Of
so
course.
my guess is that it probably won't. be.
Probably not.
And you don't kind of experience raid bosses and what they look like in the same way as you do NPCs out in the world. It's probably not as triggering because I mean, I can't tell you what half the raid bosses look like in raids that I've been in. If I'm perfectly honest,
Except the giant spider.
yeah,
Which,
well, maybe that one, yeah.
right.
Yeah, and it's a very vertical fight, it's been described as.
Yes, it's quite
Ian in the
interesting.
Wowcast accidentally said they'd be testing it. It's been clarified that they're hoping not to test it because it's a final boss, right? And they try not to test those. But he's implied that there's going to be lots of like going up to different levels and climbing on webs. And yeah, guaranteed she's going to lay some eggs at some point. So that'll be great for arachnophobes. They'll love that.
Delicious.
Suddenly the eggs pop and all these crabs come out.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool. So yeah, verticality. But she looks amazing. She's very cool indeed.
Yeah. Love her.
Like a lot of these Nerubian models.
Oh yeah, and there's some void NPCs which look absolutely terrifying.
Oh yeah, like the void NPCs off the chart.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine, they're kind of these are all investments, right? These
Yeah.
void NPCs, they're for this expansion, but they're for Midnight as well.
Of course they are.
At the very least.
I love that one, and I love the ethereal with like arm scythes.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just labeled as ethereal, but is it Locust Eater?
Oh yeah. Oh right.
It could
Is
be
it our
Locust
guy?
Eater. It could be like the Ethereal, who is Alleria's buddy, because
Mm-hmm.
he is currently still just hanging out in the Void Elf start zone.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd imagine is it Locust Eater or Locust Walker? Locust Walker.
I think you think like Lotus Eater. You confuse Lotus Eater and
Yeah,
Locust
I am,
Walker.
aren't I?
Yeah.
Locust Eater would be a cool name.
Locust
anyway.
Eater is
Locust Walker. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. Is this a raid boss? I see. Very cool.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it's not him then.
Okay,
but
fine.
very interesting to see that kind of void influence in there. My favorite of this list of NPCs that you're looking at right here
Yes.
is I love the very buff candle dudes.
The kobolds.
The kobolds, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of kobolds. As you'd imagine, right, in an underground expansion, there's a whole bunch of kobolds, and they are the kobolds that your girlfriend tells you not to worry about. They are very much
they're
like,
big boys.
They are the Giga Chat. Because,
Yeah.
right, we're going deeper in the earth than ever before. So, obviously, these kobolds, they don't have annoying kind of adventurers coming along and stealing their candles. These kobolds have had a surplus of candles and resources, and they've been able to evolve into absolute Giga Chads. And there are like kobold mounts and stuff in this data. They're going to steal your candle. They're going to come along and then be like, hey, nice candle. Give it to me. And you're going to give it to them and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
So some really cool stuff there. Magni's got a new kind of outfit, but he looks basically exactly the same. There's loads of really interesting stuff going on here. The Anduin model is something that a lot of people are talking about.
Yes.
Now, for me, lots of people are kind of really loving this model. And I do too. I think it's really good, and it looks kind of how you expect. But for me, I don't want to be rude about it, but it does look a little bit unfinished.
His face does.
His face doesn't look
face-
like it's got as much texture as...
I don't think he has enough polygons in there.
He's not yet, but if they don't add a few more polygons or texture onto his face, there's a very real danger that next expansion or the expansion after, it could be like... It could be a bit of a Cataclysm Caligos thing going on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think he is just a little low res.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it seems. So I don't know if that is just because he's unfinished. I suspect he is finished, but I suspect they will probably touch him up. That's not what I planned. Because he's so hot, right? No, I expect they'll touch the model up and give it a little bit more detail.
I think so. And I mean, so we've there's so much stuff that we haven't even touched on. But there's been a huge amount of data mining. One thing that maybe we can talk about it another
the
time.
Alleria model. I just want to point out the Alleria model as well.
Yeah, let's do that.
My suspicion is that in the next Dragonflight patch 10.2.7 and the Dark Heart quests, which they're starting to ramp up the hype for now a little bit. I suspect those quests will be when we see Alleria take on this new model.
Okay.
because she's already got this model at the beginning of the alpha quests. She's already made that transition and that change. So either she's going to take on this model in the opening quests for the War Within, or it's going to happen in the next patch.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just seems like a natural thing that it might happen. That
what's the story behind it?
Well, so
time has passed, right?
Yeah,
she's done something. She's changed
and
up her look.
This is based on what I know about the opening of Alpha as well, and what has just happened. But it does seem from the features trailer to me that she has, everyone else is hearing the voice of Azeroth, or supposedly the voice of Azeroth. And she is, but she's hearing other whispers as well. She's hearing void whispers because she's Alleria and she's like really connected to the void. And I think those void whispers that she is hearing are Xal'atath. That's pretty clearly implied. And I think that, Alleria is our way of tracking Xal'atath. It's a bit like in the Star Wars prequels, like Daisy Ridley always knows where young Vader is, or young Solo is, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Because they've got this kind of weird link that they can't quite shift, whether they like it or not. And so I feel like maybe that's what's going on, and I feel like the kickoff for the War Within will be she's having visions of Xal'atath in the Nerubian city, getting the Nerubian forces together, and she's like, I can take you to her. And I think that might not go as well as they planned.
Right.
I suspect they might not have the element of surprise that they think they do. I think there might be a trick going on from Xal'atath that kind of leaves them a bit exposed. But that's my guess for the start of the War Within at the moment. And it all comes from this link. And I think they'll play on that throughout the expansion. This idea of, we can technically track Xal'atath and see what she's up to through Alleria because they have this link. But at the same time, Xal'atath knows we can do that, so we can never be exactly sure of the things that we're seeing, whether it's stuff that Xal'atath wants us to see or not, and whether she's manipulating us and things. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic.
It is.
If that is what they're doing with it, really, really cool. But she looks amazing. She looks like a StarCraft character, basically.
She looks incredible, and her bow looks so good.
And her boots are probably, I'm going to go on a limb, I'm going to say her boots are the best boots I've ever seen in WoW.
They're very good.
They're very, very cool. And she's got cool, voidy tattoos up one arm as well.
I love it.
Which is really, really cool. And you know what what arm do you hold bows in WoW?
Your left arm.
Okay, good. Because unlike most armor sets in WoW, she's got one arm which isn't covered, doesn't have a sleeve, and she's got one arm in a sleeve. And usually they get it the wrong way round. Usually they have the sleeveless arm holding the bow. They do this so often, and I find it so annoying because, archers did often have one sleeve off and one sleeve on, but the sleeve would be on the arm that they held the bow in. And WoW gets that wrong so much, and it really pisses me off. And they've given her the proper archer gloves on the correct hand as well for pulling back the bowstring, which I'm
super cool.
Very happy about it. It's only a little thing, but it's amazing how often they get it wrong. Assuming that is the arm she holds the bow in, she's got that right, which is fantastic. Very, very cool. What was the other thing you're going to bring up? Sorry, I just want to talk about Alleria there.
I was just I just saw the graphic of how much it's going to cost to unlock bank slots, like max bank slots for your warband, and it's 3 million gold.
So So Breezy, friend of ours, was a little bit cheeky on this. We know that with warbands, and I'm glad you brought up warbands actually, because I quite like to talk about
at least mention them.
Yeah, exactly, because that was one of the things that definitely came out of this. I think that we'll make this the last thing we talk about. But that was definitely something that came out of the event. Was lots of talk about warbands, lots of exciting talk about warbands. I've got a nice little thing we can finish on. But one of the great things you can do with warbands, of course, and warbands just basically means all of your characters.
Yes.
And one of the things you can do with them is you have a shared bank. and a shared regent bank. So when you are crafting stuff, as long as the stuff is in your shared regent bank, so collected on any character, you can use that stuff to craft on the character there and then, which is fantastic. Love that. Really, really cool. And there's a shared regent bank, and like all banks, you have to buy slots for it, and that starts off very cheap. The 5th slot costs 2.5 million gold. And these are bank tabs. They've got like these are like guild bank tabs. They've got like however many are in there, like 60 like slots or something. I don't know, but they're bigger than bags. They're whole bank tabs, and of course you can put bags in them. I think probably as well. But yeah, the 5th and final tab that you can buy is 2.5 million gold, which is when Soul So Breezy shared the image. He didn't say it was the 5th tab, and he was purposely being mischievous and having a joke about it. Oh, 98 slots per tab. There you go.
Okay, wow.
So I don't know how. For the 2.5 million one, I don't know how much that works out per tab, but probably worth it, honestly.
Might be. And the thing is, there are people who are going to be completionists who are like, gotta get all the tabs, right? Yeah. Like I'm probably not going to get all of them, but yeah, anyone can do like the first 2, maybe 3, but from then on, it's like, right. Yeah. How serious are you about this?
Well, I want to say like I'll buy all of them because since I've been doing my meta achievement and going around doing the Dragnarl stuff, my gold has gone through the roof.
No way.
Yeah, I'd spent a bit of gold on some stuff, so I had 95,000 gold on my main when I started doing the meta achievement.
Fine.
And I don't bop it. I log in, I see what's up that I can do for the meta every day, and I kind of do it. The various like rotational things. And I'm on well over 250,000 gold right now, just from like killing stuff and looting stuff and selling, because I'm going around picking up treasures and stuff and picking up explorers backpacks and disturbed dirt and stuff like that, just putting everything I have on the auction house through my auction house mount.
Nice.
And just like raking in the cash right now. It's fantastic. Like doing storms and stuff. It's wild. So I'll buy the tabs, I'll buy it, and the obviously it starts off much like any bank tab. It starts off much cheaper than that. So
The first one is 1,000. Next one is what, like
exactly, like very affordable to get you started.
100K.
But just such a great feature. I'm so excited.
Oh, I mean, I think just to kind of round things off, like warbands and this whole kind of shift from playing your character to playing your account. Account sounds a little bit like sterile. I think so. I like to think of it as like your adventuring party, your warband,
your adventuring party, and that is very much what like this image of the the character select screen looks like.
Yeah, and this is your like login screen, right? So this is your character select screen. Going forward, it's no longer about your individual race class combo looking cool. It's about everyone standing around together,
and I love that. It feels kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y, and it feels kind having an adventuring party rather than an individual character.
Okay, so here's just a counterpoint. What about for someone who doesn't play alts and you just have one character standing
by the fire?
Standing by the fire. Is this a sneaky way of Liz being like, you need to start playing alts? Like, you need to fill up your screen, dude. You need to at least have a party of 4. The other guys can wait.
Well, okay, so let's say I am an individual player. There is, like I did for this screenshot that we're looking at on Twitch and YouTube right now, I made my main, but then I just made like 3 other characters that could stand around. So even if I only ever wanted to play one character, what I would do is I would utilize the new personal tabard feature that is coming next patch.
Oh, yes.
Where you don't need to be in a guild to make and design and wear a tabard. You can go and make one of those janky ass things that are 20 years old and have graphics that are 20 years old yourself. And I would make my own little party of squires. I would have my main character, and then I'd create like an army of either hot elf women or hot Vampira women, or
just your bank alt. You don't need a bank alt anymore, though.
Hot Kultiran women.
Okay.
And they would be there in their uniform with their like matching tabards and stuff, all level 1, and they'd just be like there around the fire with me, keeping me company.
Yeah,
and it would be great.
I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to play them.
There's just an added pressure here. Like, you need to make sure your transmogs are looking good. You need to make sure that your party looks nice, like the assemblage, like it feels balanced. I love that they're adding this whole element, and Ian was very clear about how this is a new way that you enter into the game signals a new way of thinking about how you approach the game, you know, via warbands. No longer just your one character. It's about all of you in it together.
Yeah. And it's great. And you know what? Even if you were standing by yourself by the fire, then so be it. That's what I say.
Hey, yeah. Some people just roll that way.
It does seem strange to me that there's not 5, because 5 is a dungeon party. It's like a natural WoW number.
I know.
And also at the moment, they're all just kind of standing there, like as they would be on a character select screen, just like in their stand pose, right? And you know, I'm not the only one to say this, but it would be nice to see maybe one sitting on the chair, one kind of cooking on the fire, you know, stuff like that. Just general kind of like camp stuff. You know, going on would be really, really cool. I think that would be really good. And the other thing, and we'll finish on this. We're gonna talk loads more about the alpha and the weekly reset, and all the exciting things that's popping up. And obviously that's a video, so we can show you stuff there if you're just a listener. And I will just, you know, one of the great things about this event we went to was that Holly and Maria were wandering around watching us as we played, because they want to see how people react to the content, and they want to do that. And Holly kind of it'll be the thumbnail of the podcast video, I suspect. But Holly kind of sidled up behind us as we were playing, and we were looking at this screen, this character select screen, the warband screen. And she was like, "What do you think of that warband screen?" And we're like, "It's brilliant. It's really cool. It's so nice to have all your party there. Really, really good." And she kind of leaned in. She went, "Wouldn't it be cool if those were the characters that you took as your followers in your follower dungeons?"
Wouldn't that be cool?
And we said, "Yeah, Holly, that would be cool."
Yes, it would be.
And then she kind of stood up and she went, That's what she said. I'm just repeating what she said. I'm not like implying anything.
No.
I'm just repeating the words she said.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Right, let's get on to our super chats.
Yes.
And go through those. Thank you to everyone that has given us a super chat throughout this stream. It's a really nice thing to do, to kind of treat it as like a little Q&A at the end. And we do have some to read out today. Do you want to get started, Evie?
Yes. I sell cabbages.
Just with a beautiful first super chat of the stream. Thank you very much.
And then followed by a second. I know you love Dagran's model, but it is unsettling to me. Do you think that there should be a mechanic that as we see his character grow, we see his beard grow as well? Well, my hope is, I get what you mean. He looks kind of wrong without anything on his chin. It's just a bit like Tally, if you've ever seen him shaved. It's like I know you have. It's like the baby filter, but in real life, and it's quite frightening. So I agree. I have a feeling. Well, fingers crossed, Dagran will be sticking around.
Oh yeah! Oh my god! If they touch Dagran, if they do anything to Dagran,
no.
Holy okay! So there are two moments where the shit is going to hit the fan in this expansion, or maybe other expansion. Is the moment where they make Xal'atath as a raid boss is the first one. I'll be camped outside that raid. I'll have war mode on. I'll be murdering any motherfucker that goes into that raid to try and kill Xal'atath. I'm not going anywhere near that raid. I'm protecting her with my honor and my life. Every single pull that we do in raid on Xal'atath, I will ruin that pull. Yeah, I will do like some shit ass pull, like as the pull counter is going on. Like I'm gonna fight for her. I'm gonna keep that beautiful, perfect, wonderful lady alive as long as I possibly can. Because you know what she says?
What? Oh yeah.
Every little death helps, which you know in French means every orgasm helps.
It's true.
I can't believe they made
French,
like a literal orgasm joke on this jumper. They made an orgasm joke on this sweater. They were like, they must have known what they were doing. They were like, everyone loves Xal'atath. Yeah. Let's put every little death helps on the jumper. Little death, petit mort, right? Is what the French call an orgasm. A female orgasm specifically.
Yeah. Little death. Very appropriate for Xal'atath. I wonder if our French contingent got this in French.
Well, I'm just saying, give me a chance, Ali. I'll give you a big death. I'll give you the... I'll give you the most knee-trembling, like, death you've ever. Just give me a chance. Just pick me. Give me a chance. But I will. I'll ass pull every single pull when we're killing Xal'atath. She's going nowhere.
Wow, you definitely will ass pull.
But the other one is if they try and touch Dagran, if they do anything to Dagran, I'm taking them down.
So I think he's sticking around, hopefully long enough to grow a beard.
Yeah, exactly. And,
or
you
at
know,
least, like,
hopefully he won't need his entire life to go wrong and to spend 40 days and 40 nights in the desert like Anduin did, to come back grizzled and with a nice beard. Hopefully that's something that he will just live long enough to see, and he grows a beard because he's happy, hopefully. But like, I think, you know, it's very important to his character that he looks like a kind of wet behind the ears, on his first adventure, studious kind of young dude right now. And so I like it. I think it's cool.
Yes.
HS Errol says, why does the possible new allied race look like an elf and a troll made whoopee? For that exact reason. Because that's why people are calling them the missing link, right, between the night elves and the trolls, is because they didn't just go to bed as dark trolls and wake up as night elves. You know, it would have taken hundreds of generations, just like evolution does. So this is maybe a group that kind of halfway through that process or part of the way through process went off to explore. It's like, well, you're doing magic stuff, I'm more into nature stuff, so I'm gonna go and investigate this really deep looking hole over here. Let's see where this goes.
All right. Next cheer from Rico. Hey, Evie. Hey, Tally. Cheers and love. Hope the trip to London was absolutely amazing. It was. I'm so in love with everything everything happening. Feeling so much passion about WoW again. And I'm genuinely happy to see how devs are also so inspired. Yeah, genuinely, like, for real, going to this event, it felt so positive. It really did. And like Tally said, I just felt like we were in safe hands, especially after some turbulent, past years. With Dragonflight, things have been, feeling better, but I think people are ready for kind of like a new level of story and engagement. And I think they're ready to give it to us.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And, I was excited about the World Soul Saga before. After BlizzCon, I came away from BlizzCon very, very excited about the World Soul Saga specifically. I'm really glad they're doing this thing. I'm really glad they're doing this kind of arcing trilogy. But my excitement levels for the War Within itself, and I think it's probably quite common, weren't as high, partly because the hype was around the trilogy and the War Within was presented after that kind of as an afterthought, really. I still think they should have presented them the other way around. But, the excitement was split between the new expansion and the fact that this was the beginning of the trilogy, right? And very much now, I've got that new expansion excitement in me.
Yeah.
I've got I'm specifically excited for the War Within right now, because from what I've played of it, it's been really good. I love a lot of the directions they're taking and a lot of the things they're doing. And yeah, I'm actually I'm ready to move on from Dragonflight now. And I love Dragonflight. I think it's a great expansion.
I'm also ready.
Yeah, I'm absolutely ready for the War Within on its own terms. Like, not even as the start of the World Soul Saga or anything like that. I'm really excited because it just looks like a good game that I want to play, which feels awesome. So yeah, I would agree, Rico. My hype is absolutely living for WoW right now. And from a creator point of view, I always think that the most fun I ever had as a creator was the build up to BFA. And just the amount of
that trailer when it
story and speculation and cool story cinematics and the emphasis they were putting on story. And I just think I enjoy being a creator the most when there's cool story stuff to talk about and to think about and to speculate about and to piece together and stuff. And BFA had that in spades.
I agree.
And it looks like the War Within the World Soul Saga is taking a similar route. So yeah, it's super exciting for me.
Yeah.
Buddy, mate, another regular voice on this podcast. Hi, friends. Alpha Time. Wish we could have our warband alts as bodyguards in the open world content. Any other cool warband ideas you got? Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think an obvious one would be Delves, right? Even when Delves were first announced, people were like, yo, why not put our warband people in there? And at the moment, I think it's a way of exploring characters. It's a way of the character per patch that takes you through that patch's delves or whatever. It's a way of kind of furthering their story in a patch or expansion or whatever. So I think they might try and keep that as a character based thing rather than. And we haven't tested delves at all, by the way. We did not get as far as delves.
No, we didn't even touch.
Like I say, I spent all my time looking at the transmogs and the and the mounts and stuff.
Yeah, like the first time Holly came over, she's like, "Have you guys noticed any bugs, anything interesting?" And I'm like, I'm literally just doing my keybinds and changing my transmog before I get started.
And then
give me 5 minutes.
Yeah, we had to go an interview with Ian as well. So we just didn't have much time on the outfit at all, unfortunately. Just enough time to kind of see the big shock thing at the beginning and like, but it was fun. It was really nice getting together with all the characters at the beginning.
It was.
It was very cool. So yeah, delves would be an obvious one.
Yeah.
Follower dungeons.
Yeah, like, I mean, you tweeted about this earlier, but I think there should be a real world camp where all of your warband is hanging out.
And I said that to Holly as well.
Yeah.
When she was asking about the warband screen, I was like, I mean, this is a real location in game that you've used for this, right? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, I think it should exist in the real world. Yeah. And when you go there, your warband is sitting around just like they are here. And I realized that is based. I've literally just asked for player housing there.
Yes,
but it's like a player camp, right?
Yeah.
I just think it'd be really cool if it existed there. And when you go there, your warband screen people are there, just like on your warband screen, but they're in the real world and they're just like
they're
there.
just sitting.
And, yeah,
you know,
and that's all you. And it would just be a kooky, weird little thing, which would be really cool.
Yeah,
Nice. So I mean, a million things you can do with warbands. I think that is such a great idea, and I'm so into it. I think it's like just a great innovation for WoW, and really fun.
Rico, and as always, updates on downstairs demolishing shenanigans. We have moved on from men demolishing our downstairs to men rebuilding our downstairs.
The plaster is in today.
Yeah.
The plaster will be in again tomorrow, and then it will just need to dry over the weekend. They reckon they'll be done by Tuesday.
Amazing.
And that's incredible because then once the plastering's done, then we can start putting fun shit in.
We've got to
then
start buying the fun
floors
shit.
and like kitchen stuff can go in, and it's like, oh yeah. So it's looking good at the moment. It's really, really cool. Seeing the changes to monk talents has left me more hyped to play Mistweaver, than I've ever been for any class, for any expansion. I have not had a chance to look at those new Mistweaver changes yet, so I will have a look. Is this for the War Within or is this for 10.27? Either way, I'll make that the next class that I check out because I need alpha so I can start doing the class.
I mean, oh god, we didn't even talk about hero talents at all. We didn't even say the word.
No, but I did get a chance to play with the Shadow Priest hero talents, and I went Void Weaver, obviously.
I did Dark Ranger and it was fine.
I think that's the thing about the hero talents, right?
It's like I just have one extra ability.
Fine.
Yeah, like I have one extra ability and let the passives around it.
Yeah, they don't want them to be too exciting or game changing, exactly. So they're always going to be fine. Yeah, they're currently pretty much the least exciting thing about War Within to me at the moment.
I agree. I just want to read one thing on the Twitch chat very quickly from Xerxes. Tally and Evitel, love seeing you all. My wife and I are finally playing together again after her breast cancer and stroke that followed after she lost all reading abilities. WoW brought her back and she wanted to know what is happening in chat. She learned to read and type again. We watch you all at every opportunity for our WoW news updates. Keep it going. We love you both.
Oh, what an amazing message. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Xerxes. Thank you for the sub and thank you for sharing that amazing story. I am really glad that we can play some role in that. And that sounds, I mean, kudos to your wife. That's really incredible.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you.
I hope she's happy with where things are going.
And thank you to everyone in Twitch chat watching this live as well. Thank you to everyone who subbed during the broadcast on Twitch. We see all the subs come through, but obviously we won't mention them because we're doing the podcast. But thank you. Thank you particularly to Ibrahim, who dropped 100 gifted subs during this broadcast. Thank you very much indeed. But some great names in this chat today. On Abound subs as well and other people as well, so thank you. Really awesome. Thank you to everyone watching live on YouTube as well. Thank you to everyone who's listening to this just a little bit later on your favorite podcasting platform, as long as that is Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever the other one is that we put it on. Thunders with some gifted subs there as well. Thank you very much. And thank you to that's everyone. No one else deserves any thanks. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's it. But thank you to everyone watching live on YouTube. Thank you to
Cheers, guys.
Twitch. Oh no, there was another super chat that came through, which we'll quickly hit. For your warband, this is the Rubber Duck 77. Maybe instead of around the campfire in real world, they are hanging around whenever your character is soulbound. That would be very, very cool. And we did, when we spoke to Ian in the roundtable, we did ask if there were any more customizations coming for the warband screen, and he said yes. He said that's definitely on the list. Probably not for launch, but the idea is something they can generally add to a lot. So different backgrounds, like different zones that you can be.
Oh, you know that's where it's going.
The screen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. It's a no-brainer, right? And
exactly.
I feel like for the amount of work that it might take to do, the amount of gratitude that you get from players from it is kind of off the scale.
Exactly.
Proportionately, it's just like
Exactly.
the work to kind of praise ratio there is a good ratio for Blizz, so I think it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
People are asking if your Disco Elysium stream is coming back, Evie.
Yes, it is. I mean, we were on a train yesterday, so couldn't swing it then. But yeah, next week it's definitely on the cards. Probably Wednesday. See if we can do it on Wednesdays, or I might swing by another day.
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to get alpha. So.
Oh, Ian mentioned it as a possible reward, renown reward.
No,
In our
did he?
interview. Yeah,
Oh
it's suddenly come back to me. Yeah, he mentioned it would be cool if you were like building your renown with factions, if maybe your warband selection screen background unlock was to do with that, which makes sense. Honestly, that would be great. That would be a great renown reward. You could put that throughout the game then as well for like other ones. Be really, really cool. Anyway, sorry, I just had to drop that one because that's actually a good bit of info. That's what he said. That wasn't a confirmation, by the way. That was him kind of musing, as Ian is wont to do.
Thinking about it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, everyone listening to this live. Thank you, everyone listening to this in the future. We can't wait to talk to you again next week when we will have even more stuff to talk about, no doubt. No doubt. Join us for the weekly reset on our main channel, Taliesin Evitel. Check out our stream highlights on our second channel, Taliesin Evitel's second channel. And we got some new YouTube projects coming up soon as well that we were talking about over dinner the other day.
Things in the work, just in time for a really, really busy WoW period.
Yeah, because it's going to be non-stop from now until, well, when do you think this is going to release?
Well, summer, right? They said summer, late summer.
When?
It's going to be August or September. I think early September.
I'm thinking, I'm going to, I'd probably go for September. Maybe August, though.
Summer.
I don't know. Anyway, let's go. Thank you, guys. We will catch you next time. For me, Taliesin.
And me, Evitel.
Until next time, cheerio.
Bye.